Hey guys, you're listening to Revenge Diaries with Emma. Today we're diving into a story that'll make you question everything you thought you knew about trust, love, and those little velvet boxes that hold our biggest promises. Here's something fascinating. The tradition of engagement rings only became widespread in the 1940s, thanks to one of history's most successful marketing campaigns. Before that, most couples sealed their promises with simple bands or even just their word. Now, we've built an entire industry around stones that symbolize forever, except sometimes, those stones aren't even real, and neither is the forever. We've turned authenticity into a luxury, both in our jewelry and our relationships. You probably won't survive this reality check, but here's the truth. In an age where you can fake a diamond, a lifestyle, or even an entire identity with the right filters and props, the question isn't just, is this ring real? It's, is this person real? So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, drop a comment letting me know where you're watching from and what time it is in your corner of the world. I love seeing how far these stories travel. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into today's journey together. You stand on your apartment balcony, 5th floor, overlooking the city that's just beginning to shimmer with evening lights. In your hand, you clutch a small velvet box, navy blue, classic, the kind that dreams are supposedly made of. Your name is Mark, you're 29 years old, and you've spent the last 3 months planning what you believe will be the perfect proposal. The ring inside cost you nearly 3 months' salary, a fact your practical side wrestled with until your romantic side won. Because Sarah deserves it. Sarah, with her cascading auburn hair and that laugh that sounds like wind chimes on a lazy Sunday afternoon. You've been together for 3 years. 3 years of coffee dates that turned into dinner dates, of Netflix binges that evolved into planning future Christmases, of "I love you" texts that graduated into conversations about mortgage rates and baby names. She's a marketing coordinator at a mid-sized firm downtown, you're a software engineer at a tech startup, the kind of ordinary, beautiful pairing that makes up the backbone of any city's love stories. The proposal plan is elaborate because Sarah loves elaborate. You've booked the rooftop restaurant where you had your first anniversary dinner. You've arranged for a violinist, her favorite instrument. You've even coordinated with her best friend, Monica, to make sure Sarah shows up wearing something nice under the guise of a girls' celebration dinner that you'll crash at just the right moment. It's the kind of orchestrated romance that would make even the most cynical person believe in happily ever after. But right now, you're not thinking about any of that. You're staring at the box in your hand with a knot forming in your stomach. The ring needs to be resized. Sarah has delicate fingers, size 5, and the jeweler you bought from only had it in stock as a size 7. No problem, they'd assured you at purchase. Any jeweler can resize it within a week. Simple enough. You'd picked it up yesterday, stopped by a reputable jeweler near your office, Morrison & Sons, been in business since 1952, the kind of place with actual credibility, just to get a quick resize done. That's when your world tilted. You can still see old Mr. Morrison's face, the way his expression shifted from professional courtesy to genuine concern as he examined the ring under his loupe. The shop smelled like leather and metal polish, classical music playing softly from speakers you couldn't see. You'd been checking your phone, already mentally rehearsing your proposal speech, when his voice cut through your daydreaming. "Son, I need to ask you something, and please don't take offense." You'd looked up, suddenly alert to the gravity in his tone. Mr. Morrison was 70 if he was a day, with hands steadier than most surgeons and a reputation for brutal honesty that kept him in business while flashier stores came and went. "Where did you purchase this ring?" You told him. Brilliance & Company, a boutique jewelry store in the upscale part of downtown. Sarah had actually insisted on going there together to look at styles, about 4 months ago, back when you'd first started seriously discussing marriage. She'd fallen in love with this particular setting, a classic solitaire with a platinum band, clean lines, timeless elegance. 1 carat, vs 1 clarity, G color. You'd memorized the specifications like they were scripture. Mr. Morrison had set down his loupe and folded his hands on the counter, the gesture somehow final. I'm very sorry to tell you this, but this stone isn't a diamond. It's cubic zirconia. Very good quality CZ, mind you, excellent cut, proper weight. But it's not a diamond. The words hadn't made sense at first. Your brain rejected them the way your body rejects the wrong blood type. That's impossible. I paid $8,000 for that ring. I have the certificate of authenticity. May I see it? You'd pulled up the digital certificate on your phone, the one emailed to you by Brilliance and Company. Mr. Morrison had studied it with a deepening frown, then handed your phone back. This certificate is from a company I've never heard of. Not GI, not AGS, not even EGL. The language is correct, the format looks official, but I'd bet my shop this is manufactured. These outfits pop up online, charge jewelry stores a small fee, and provide whatever documentation is requested. I've seen it before, unfortunately. Your hands had started shaking. So you're saying? I'm saying someone sold you a fake diamond in a real setting. That platinum band is genuine, probably worth about $600. The stone is worth maybe $50. I wish I had better news. You'd left Morrison and Sons in a daze, the ring box feeling suddenly weightless in your pocket, like it might float away if you didn't grip it tight enough. You'd walked 6 blocks in the wrong direction before realizing you'd passed your car. The city sounds, traffic, conversations, the distant wail of sirens, all seemed to reach you through water, distorted and strange. Now, standing on your balcony as dusk deepens into night, you keep opening and closing the box. Looking at the ring that's supposed to represent your future. The stone catches the light from your living room, throwing tiny rainbows across your palm. It looks perfect. It looks real. That's what makes your chest feel tight, like someone's wrapped steel bands around your ribs and keeps tightening them, the fact that you can't tell the difference just by looking. Your phone buzzes. A text from Sarah, missing you baby, can't wait for this weekend. Monica's being so mysterious about Friday night, LOL. Love you. You stare at the message. This weekend. The proposal is scheduled for Friday night, 2 days away. You've already paid the deposit for the restaurant, the violinist has been booked for weeks, Monica knows the plan. Everything is in motion. But the ring is fake. You walk back inside, setting the box on your kitchen counter next to the takeout containers from last night's dinner. Your apartment is nice enough, 1 bedroom, modern appliances, a view that costs you an extra $300 a month. Sarah keeps a drawer here, a toothbrush, half her wardrobe spread across your closet like she's slowly colonizing your space. You'd found it endearing until about 3 hours ago. You need to think this through logically. You're an engineer, logic is supposed to be your strong suit. There are possible explanations. Maybe Brilliance and Company made a mistake. Maybe the rings got switched somehow. Maybe there's a reasonable explanation that doesn't involve betrayal or fraud. But something else Mr. Morrison said keeps echoing in your mind. You'd asked him how a reputable store could make such an error, and he'd given you a look loaded with years of seeing the worst of human nature dressed up in its Sunday best. Son, in my experience, when someone gets sold a fake ring for the price of a real one, it's rarely a simple mistake. Either the store is deliberately fraudulent, or someone in the transaction chain knew exactly what they were doing. You don't sleep that night. Instead, you sit at your kitchen table with your laptop, drinking coffee that's gone cold hours ago, and start digging. The blue glow of the screen illuminates your face as you navigate through Brilliance and Company's website. It looks legitimate, professional photos, elegant typography, testimonials from satisfied customers. There's even a storefront address you recognize, right in the heart of the shopping district where rent probably costs more per month than most people's mortgages. You pull up reviews. 4.5 stars on Google, mostly glowing feedback about attentive service and beautiful pieces. But when you filter for the most recent reviews and start reading carefully, something catches your attention. 3 reviews from the past 6 months mention issues with appraisals done after purchase. One woman writes, "Beautiful ring, but when I went to insure it, my insurance company's appraiser valued it at less than half what we paid. The store claims it's just market fluctuation, but I'm not sure. Another, from 4 months ago, gorgeous setting, but I recommend getting an independent appraisal. Ours came back, different than expected. You screenshot these reviews, though you're not sure why yet. It's 3 in the morning. Your eyes burn. Outside your window, the city has quieted to that peculiar hush that only exists in the hours between last call and first light. Your phone sits face up on the table, Sarah's smiling face frozen in your lock screen photo. It was taken at the beach last summer. She's laughing, windswept, one hand holding down her hat, the other reaching toward you and the camera. You remember that day. You'd gotten sunburned because you kept forgetting to reapply sunscreen, too distracted by watching her collect shells like each one was a tiny treasure. By 7 a.m., you've made a decision. You're going back to Brilliance and Company. Not to confront anyone, not yet. You need to understand how this happened first. The store opens at 10. You shower, dress in your work clothes like it's any other Wednesday. Your reflection in the bathroom mirror looks hollowed out, shadows under your eyes making you appear older than 29. You practice what you'll say, casual, curious, nothing accusatory. You're just a customer with questions. Brilliance and Company occupies a corner lot with massive windows that make the jewelry inside sparkle like contained stars. A doorman in an actual uniform opens the door for you. The interior is all cream marble and soft lighting designed to make everything gleam. Classical piano music plays at a volume carefully calibrated to feel luxurious without being intrusive. A woman approaches immediately, mid-30s, immaculate suit, smile professionally warm. Her name tag reads, Jessica. Welcome to Brilliance and Company. How can I help you create something special today? You keep your voice steady. Actually, I purchased a ring here about 3 months ago. I'm just looking into insurance options and had some questions about the documentation. Of course. Do you have your receipt or order number? You pull out your phone, show her the email confirmation. You watch her face as she types into her computer system. Nothing changes in her expression, no flicker of recognition, no sign of alarm. Either she's an incredible actress or she genuinely doesn't know about whatever's happening with their inventory. Ah yes, I see it here. Beautiful choice, the Anastasia setting. One of our most popular designs. What questions can I answer about documentation? The certificate of authenticity, you say carefully. My insurance company mentioned they typically prefer GIA or AGS certifications. Is it possible to get the stone recertified through one of those organizations? Jessica's smile doesn't waver, but something shifts in her eyes. It's subtle, like watching someone internally switch gears. The certificate we provide is from an industry-recognized gemological institute that meets all standard authentication requirements. However, if your insurance company has specific preferences, you're certainly welcome to pursue independent certification. Many customers do for insurance purposes. And if the independent certification shows different specifications than your certificate? Now the smile tightens, just barely. Sir, I can assure you that all our pieces are thoroughly vetted before sale. We've been in business for 12 years and maintain the highest standards. If you're concerned about your purchase, I'd be happy to have our in-house gemologist take another look, though I'm confident everything is in order. You almost laugh at the audacity. Their in-house gemologist, the same people who supposedly certified it the first time. That's all right. I appreciate your time. You're turning to leave when you spot something that makes you freeze. Through the partially open door of a back office, you can see into what appears to be a storage area. And there, sitting at a desk with her back to the showroom, is someone you recognize. Not from the store. From Sarah's life. It's Vanessa Chen, Sarah's friend from college. You've met her maybe 3 times, always at group gatherings. She works in, what did Sarah say? Marketing? Finance? You can't remember exactly, but you're absolutely certain Sarah never mentioned she worked at a jewelry store. Vanessa turns slightly, and you catch a glimpse of her profile. She's on the phone, gesturing emphatically at someone or something out of your line of sight. Before she can spot you, you walk out quickly, pushing past the doorman and back onto the street. Your heart hammers as you cross to the other side and lean against a building, pulling out your phone. You need to think. You need to not panic. You open your text thread with Sarah, scroll back through months of messages until you find what you're looking for, a conversation from last year where she'd mentioned Vanessa. Running into Vanessa for drinks tonight. Haven't seen her since graduation practically. She's doing amazing, just got promoted at her consulting firm. Consulting firm. Not a jewelry store. You stand there on the sidewalk while people flow around you like water around a stone, everyone rushing to their destinations while you're stuck in this moment, this realization that's starting to crystallize into something ugly. The pieces are arranging themselves in your mind, forming a picture you don't want to see. Sarah insisted on going to Brilliance and Company specifically. She fell in love with that particular ring. You went back alone to make the actual purchase because she thought it would be more romantic if she didn't know the exact price or see the transaction. And now you find out her college friend works there, a friend whose employment Sarah apparently misrepresented or simply never updated you about. Your phone rings. It's Daniel, your best friend since college, probably calling to confirm lunch plans you made 3 days ago and completely forgot about. Hey man, you still good for noon? There's a new ramen place near your office I've been wanting to try. Your voice comes out strange, distant. Daniel, I need to ask you something. Sure, what's up? You sound weird. Has Sarah ever mentioned where Vanessa Chin works? There's a pause. Vanessa? I don't know, man. Why? Just, if she ever mentions it, tell me exactly what she says. Don't tell Sarah I asked. Okay, now you're freaking me out. What's going on? You close your eyes, feeling the morning sun on your face, hearing the city move around you. I think Sarah might have scammed me. I think her friend helped her do it. And I think the engagement ring I bought is fake. Daniel goes quiet for so long you check to make sure the call hasn't dropped. Finally, he speaks, his voice careful. Where are you right now? Downtown. Outside the jewelry store. Don't go back in there. Meet me at that coffee shop on 5th, the one with the good espresso. 20 minutes. Don't do anything until we talk. The call ends. You pocket your phone and start walking, your mind racing through every interaction you've had with Sarah over the past few months. The way she steered the conversation toward Brilliance and Company. The way she made sure she wasn't present for the actual purchase. The way she responded when you told her you'd bought the ring, surprised, delighted, but not curious about the details. She never asked to see the receipt, never questioned the price, never wanted to verify the specifications. Because she already knew exactly what you were buying. Or rather, what you thought you were buying. The coffee shop on 5th is one of those places that tries too hard to be minimalist. Concrete floors, exposed ductwork, succulents in geometric planters that somehow cost more than actual furniture. Daniel is already there when you arrive, sitting at a corner table with 2 espressos waiting. He looks up as you approach, and you can see the concern etched across his face. Daniel's the kind of friend who still looks like he did in college, perpetually slightly rumpled, with the earnest expression of someone who believes most problems can be solved through honest conversation and maybe a good whiskey. You sink into the chair across from him and wrap your hands around the tiny espresso cup, needing something to anchor you to reality. Start from the beginning, Daniel says quietly. So you do. You tell him about Morrison and Sons, about Mr. Morrison's careful examination and devastating conclusion. You tell him about the fake certification, about your sleepless night researching the store, about the reviews that mention discrepancies. And then you tell him about seeing Vanessa Chen in the back office. Daniel listens without interrupting, his expression growing darker with each detail. When you finish, he leans back in his chair and runs a hand through his hair, a nervous habit he's had since freshman year. Okay, he says finally. Okay. Let's think through this logically. What exactly did you pay? $8,300. Including tax and the setting customization Sarah wanted. And Morrison said the ring is actually worth what? $600 for the platinum band, maybe $50 for the cubic zirconia stone. Call it 700 total. Daniel does the math in his head, his jaw tightening. So someone pocketed $7,600. The question is who, and how? You pull out your phone and navigate to your banking app, pulling up the transaction from 3 months ago. You've looked at it a dozen times since last night, but now you're examining it with new eyes. I paid with my credit card. The charge is from Brilliance and Company, looks completely legitimate. I got a receipt, an invoice, everything. Can I see the invoice? You forward it to his email, and he opens it on his phone, zooming in on the details. His finger hovers over the screen. This itemization, it lists the diamond specifications you mentioned. 1 carat, VS1, G color. If the store's records show they sold you this specific diamond at this specific price, then either they're running a completely fraudulent operation, or someone manipulated the transaction. You finish. Swapped the real diamond for a fake one somewhere in the process. Do you have any proof that Vanessa actually works there? Like, could it have just been a coincidence that you saw her? You shake your head slowly. She was sitting at a desk in what looked like an office, not shopping. She was on the phone like she worked there. And Daniel, Sarah has never mentioned Vanessa working at a jewelry store. Ever. She told me last year that Vanessa works at a consulting firm. Daniel sets down his phone and looks at you directly. Mark, I need to tell you something, and I've been debating whether to bring it up for a while now. Your stomach drops. What? About 2 months ago, I was downtown for a client meeting. Had some time to kill before, so I grabbed lunch at that French place near the courthouse, Café Margot? Anyway, I saw Sarah there. Okay. She wasn't alone. She was with a guy. Older, maybe mid-40s, really well-dressed. Expensive suit, the kind of watch that costs more than a car. They were sitting close, laughing. At first I thought maybe it was a work thing, client lunch or whatever. But Mark, the way he touched her hand across the table, it didn't look like business. The espresso suddenly tastes like acid in your mouth. Why didn't you tell me? Because I wasn't sure. I only saw them for a minute before my client called and I had to go. And I thought, maybe I misread it. Maybe it really was work-related and they're just friendly. I didn't want to blow up your relationship over something I might have misinterpreted. Daniel looks genuinely anguished. I'm sorry. I should have said something. You sit there, trying to process this new information layered on top of everything else. Sarah with another man. Sarah's friend working at the jewelry store. The fake ring. The missing $7,600. The pieces are starting to form a picture, but it's still incomplete, still blurry around the edges. What did he look like? The guy she was with? Daniel thinks back. Tall, fit for his age. Salt and pepper hair, styled perfectly. Tanned like he spends time on yachts or golf courses. He had this presence, The kind of guy who's used to being the most important person in any room. Would you recognize him if you saw him again? Probably. Why? You're not sure yet. You're still fitting the pieces together, still trying to see the full scope of what's been done to you. I need to figure out where that $7,600 went. If Sarah was involved in scamming me, there has to be a money trail. Do you have access to her bank accounts? No. We kept our finances separate. She always said she valued her independence, wanted to maintain her own accounts even after we got married. At the time, you'd found it refreshingly modern. Now it feels like a red flag you should have seen flapping in hurricane-force winds. Daniel drums his fingers on the table, thinking. What about shared expenses? You two live together part-time, right? Does she contribute to rent, utilities, groceries? She keeps her own apartment but stays at my place probably 4 nights a week. She gives me $300 a month to help with utilities and food. She said her apartment is closer to work, so she needs to keep it. $300 a month, Daniel repeats. For someone who's essentially living with you more than half the time. What does she pay for her own place? You realize you don't actually know. You've never seen Sarah's lease, never visited her apartment more than a handful of times. She always preferred coming to your place, said it was cozier, better laid out, had a nicer view. You'd been flattered. She told me her rent is $1,200 a month. Studio in a decent neighborhood. And what does she make? You said she's a marketing coordinator? She told me she makes about $55,000 a year. Daniel pulls out his phone's calculator. Okay, so after taxes, that's probably around $40,000 take home, give or take. $1,200 a month for rent is $14,400 annually. Add utilities, phone, car insurance, student loans if she has them, food, clothing, going out. He looks up. Mark, unless she's living on instant ramen and never buying anything, those numbers don't leave much room for savings. What's your point? My point is, have you noticed Sarah wearing or buying expensive things? Things that don't match a $55K salary with high rent? You think back over the past few months. Sarah's wardrobe has always been nice. She works in marketing. She says appearances matter. But now that Daniel mentions it, you're remembering specific items. The Chloe handbag she carried to your company holiday party. The Louboutin heels she wore to her office celebration last month. The weekend trip to Napa she took with Monica 2 months ago, staying at a resort where rooms start at $600 per night. When you'd commented on the handbag, she'd laughed and said she got it on sale. The shoes were a gift from her mom. The Napa trip was Monica's treat for landing a big client. Except now you're wondering if any of that was true. She's been buying expensive things, you say slowly. I never questioned it because she always had explanations. But Daniel, if she orchestrated this ring scam with Vanessa, if she got $7,600 out of me 3 months ago, then she's been spending it, Daniel finishes. The question is, on what? And where's the rest of her money going? Because even with the occasional designer purchase, $7,600 doesn't disappear that fast unless you're funding something big. Your mind goes back to the man Daniel saw her with. Expensive suit, expensive watch, the casual confidence of wealth. Do you think she's involved with this guy? Like, romantically? I don't know, man. But I think you need to find out who he is and what he has to do with all this. You pull out your phone and open Instagram, navigating to Sarah's profile. She posts regularly, carefully curated shots of her coffee, her outfits, scenic views with captions about gratitude and living your best life. You scroll back through the past few months, looking at her photos with new eyes. There, a picture from 6 weeks ago, a rooftop bar at sunset, champagne in an elegant flute. The caption reads, "Sometimes you need to treat yourself." You zoom in on the champagne glass. In the reflection, blurred but visible, you can see part of a man's arm. He's wearing a watch. Even in the distorted reflection, you can tell it's expensive, metallic band, substantial face. You screenshot the image. Daniel, I need your help with something. Anything. I need to follow her. Not in a creepy way, just. I need to know what she's really doing. Where she goes, who she meets. Can you help me figure out how to do that without her knowing? Daniel looks uncomfortable. Mark, are you sure about this? Maybe you should just confront her. Show her what Morrison said, ask her directly what's going on. And give her time to come up with another story? Another excuse? You shake your head. No. If Sarah's been lying to me about the ring, about Vanessa, about this other guy, if she's been scamming me, then I need proof. Real proof. Because right now, all I have are suspicions and one jeweler's assessment. That's not enough. Daniel sighs, but he nods. Okay. But Mark? Be prepared for whatever you find. Sometimes the truth is worse than the uncertainty. You think about the fake ring sitting in your kitchen, about the proposal that's supposed to happen in 2 days, about the future you'd imagined with Sarah, marriage, kids, growing old together in a house you'd fill with memories and laughter. I'm already prepared, you lie. I just need to know. The next 24 hours pass in a strange fog of normalcy layered over dread. You go to work, attend meetings, write code that probably has more bugs than usual because your mind keeps wandering to fake diamonds and expensive watches and the question of who Sarah really is. Your coworkers notice you're off. Jenny from QA asks if you're feeling okay, mentions you look tired. You blame it on a project deadline and drink more coffee than is probably healthy. Sarah texts you throughout the day like she always does. Mundane updates about her morning, a funny meme, a complaint about her boss micromanaging a campaign presentation. You respond normally, or what you hope passes for normally. She doesn't seem to notice anything wrong, which somehow makes it worse. You're unraveling, and she's texting you animal videos like the world hasn't shifted off its axis. That evening, you cancel dinner with Sarah. You tell her you're swamped with work, need to pull late hours to debug a critical issue. She sends back a pouty emoji but doesn't push. Work hard, babe. Love you, the heart emoji makes your stomach turn. Instead, you meet Daniel at his apartment. He's done some digging of his own. Okay, Daniel says, spreading papers across his coffee table like a detective in a crime drama. I did some research on Brilliance and Company. Turns out, the business was registered 8 years ago, not 12 like their website claims. The owner is listed as Marcus Brennan. I pulled his photo from the company's old press releases. He shows you his laptop screen. Marcus Brennan looks like every successful middle-aged businessman, polished, professional smile, nothing particularly distinctive. This mean anything to you? You study the face. Never seen him before. Right. But here's where it gets interesting. The business registration shows 3 partners. Marcus Brennan, Jessica Torres, that's probably the woman you talked to in the store, and a silent partner listed only as RKH Investments. RKH? I tried to track it down. It's a shell corporation, registered in Delaware, which is pretty common for investment entities. But shell corporations are also commonly used to hide ownership and move money around without transparency. You lean back on Daniel's couch, processing this. So Brilliance and Company has a hidden investor. That doesn't necessarily mean anything illegal. No, but it's suspicious. Especially for a retail jewelry store. Why would a jewelry shop need an anonymous investor? Daniel pulls up another screen. I also looked into employee reviews on Glassdoor. Most of them are generic, decent pay, normal retail hours, whatever. But there's one from 8 months ago that caught my attention. He reads from the screen, management encourages sales tactics that made me uncomfortable. Pressure to push certain pieces over others regardless of customer needs. When I questioned inventory discrepancies, I was told to mind my own business. Left after 6 months for a better opportunity. 1-star rating. Inventory discrepancies, you repeat slowly. Right. So maybe you're not the first person to get sold a fake diamond by Brilliance and Company. Maybe this is their business model, sell some real pieces to maintain legitimacy, but swap out expensive stones on high-value purchases and pocket the difference. Split the profits between the partners and whoever helps facilitate the scam. You think about Vanessa in that back office. Sarah's friend Vanessa would have access to inventory. If she works there in some capacity beyond sales, maybe in their office, handling paperwork or logistics, she could facilitate swaps. Take the real diamond out, replace it with CZ, make sure the documentation still looks correct. And if Sarah sent you to that specific store, told you exactly which ring to buy, made sure she wasn't present during the purchase. Daniel trails off, letting you complete the thought. Then she was setting me up from the beginning. The words taste bitter. But why? If she needed money that badly, why not just ask me? We were planning to get married. Or why not break up with me and find someone wealthier? Daniel gives you a look that's equal parts sympathetic and uncomfortable. Mark, remember the guy I saw her with? What if Sarah's running a longer game here? What if you're not her only target? The implication hangs in the air between you. You want to reject it, to defend Sarah, to insist that there's still some reasonable explanation for all of this. But the evidence keeps piling up, and the picture it paints is getting clearer and uglier. You think she's scamming multiple men? I think it's possible. High-end restaurants, designer purchases, expensive trips, that all costs money. Way more than what she'd get from one fake ring. What if the ring scam is just one revenue stream? What if she's also getting money from this other guy, telling him some story about who you are or why she needs help? Your phone buzzes. A text from Sarah, missing you tonight. Counting down to Friday. Monica keeps asking me what the surprise is, but I'm not spoiling it. You're the best boyfriend ever. The best boyfriend ever. The boyfriend who bought her a fake engagement ring that she probably helped design the scam around. The boyfriend who's apparently so oblivious that she can juggle another relationship, or whatever it is, right under his nose. You show Daniel the text. He winces. The proposal is still Friday? Supposed to be. The rooftop restaurant, the violinist, the whole production. And obviously I'm not going through with it now, but Sarah doesn't know that. Monica doesn't know that. Everyone thinks Friday night is going to be this magical moment. So what are you going to do? You've been thinking about this question all day, turning it over in your mind between lines of code and sips of coffee. The easy answer is to call it off, confront Sarah with what you know, and walk away. Cut your losses, accept that you've been scammed, and move on with your life. But something in you rebels against that option. Maybe it's pride, maybe it's anger, maybe it's the engineer in you who can't leave a problem unsolved. If Sarah orchestrated this elaborate deception, if she's been lying about who she is and what she's doing, then you want to understand the full scope of it. You want to see the whole machine she's built, understand every gear and lever, before you dismantle it. I want to know everything, you say finally. Who the other guy is. Where Sarah's money is really going. Whether Brilliance and Company has scammed other people. I want to understand exactly how this works before I decide what to do about it. Daniel nods slowly. Okay. So we investigate. What's the first step? Sarah stays at her apartment Tuesday and Wednesday nights because she says she has early meetings near her place. That's tomorrow night. I say we follow her, see where she actually goes, who she meets with. You want to stake out your girlfriend? I want to stake out the woman who's been stealing from me, you correct. There's a difference. Daniel considers this, then nods. All right. I'm in. What time does she usually leave work? She says she gets off around 6, sometimes stays late for campaign pushes. Her office is in the Harrison Building downtown. I know it. There's a coffee shop across the street with good sight lines. We can wait there, follow her when she leaves. Do we know what her car looks like? You pull up a photo on your phone, Sarah leaning against her white Honda Civic, taken a few months ago during a weekend trip to the mountains. She parks in the Harrison Building garage. Perfect. We set up in the coffee shop at 5:30, watch for her to leave. Then we follow at a safe distance, see where she goes. Easy. It doesn't sound easy. It sounds like the kind of thing that happens in movies, not in real life, not to normal people like you who write code and pay taxes and believe that their girlfriend's smile meant something real. But you're committed now. You've crossed some invisible threshold where turning back isn't an option anymore. You need to know the truth, whatever it costs. That night, alone in your apartment, you stand in your bedroom looking at the drawer Sarah keeps here. It's the top drawer of your dresser, the one she claimed months ago with her overnight clothes and makeup and the small jewelry box where she stores the earrings she wears when she stays over. You've never gone through her things before. It seemed like a violation, a breach of trust. But what trust is left to breach? You open the drawer slowly, half expecting alarm bells to sound. Inside, it's exactly what you'd expect: folded pajamas, workout clothes, a few casual shirts and jeans. Her jewelry box sits in the corner. You pick it up, open it. A few pairs of earrings, 2 necklaces, a bracelet you bought her for her birthday last year. Nothing unusual. Except there's a false bottom to the jewelry box. You discover it accidentally when you're setting it back down and it feels too light. You press on the velvet liner and it shifts, revealing a small hidden compartment underneath. Inside the compartment are two things, a key and a folded piece of paper. The key is brass, marked with the number 247. It looks like a safe deposit box key, small and precisely cut. The paper, when you unfold it carefully, is a photocopy of a deposit slip. Fifth National Bank, dated 6 weeks ago. The amount, $4,200. The account name is partially visible, S. Mitchell. Sarah's last name is Mitchell. You stand there holding the evidence of Sarah's secret bank account, and something clicks into place. She's not just spending the money from the ring scam. She's saving it. Building up funds in an account you're not supposed to know about. The question is, what is she saving for? You photograph the deposit slip and the key with your phone, then carefully return everything to the drawer exactly as you found it. Sarah can't know you've discovered this. Not yet. Not until you understand the full picture. Outside your window, the city continues its evening rhythm. Cars honking, people laughing on their way to dinner, lives unfolding in their normal, uncomplicated ways. You wonder if any of them know what it feels like to discover that the person you love has been systematically deceiving you. You wonder if the couple walking past your building, holding hands and smiling, are real or if they're both hiding secret bank accounts and fake diamonds and lives built on lies. You text Daniel, found something. Sarah has a secret account at Fifth National. We need to move up our timeline. His response comes immediately, tomorrow. 5:30, I'll bring my car. We'll figure this out. You set your phone down and look at the navy velvet box still sitting on your kitchen counter. The fake ring that was supposed to symbolize forever. You laugh, and the sound comes out harsh and broken in your empty apartment. Forever. What a concept. Tuesday arrives with unseasonable warmth, the kind of day where the city feels almost optimistic, as if good weather can compensate for everything wrong with the world. You call in sick to work, the first time you've done that in over a year, and spend the morning piecing together what you know. You create a document on your laptop, laying out facts like evidence at a trial. Facts. Ring purchased for $8,300 is fake, confirmed by Morrison & Sons. Real value approximately $700, platinum band plus CZ stone. Missing value, $7,600. Sarah insisted on Brilliance & Company specifically. Sarah's college friend Vanessa Chin works at Brilliance & Company. Sarah never disclosed this. Sarah seen with wealthy older man at expensive restaurant, witnessed by Daniel. Sarah has secret bank account at Fifth National Bank. Deposit of $4,200 made 6 weeks ago. Sarah's lifestyle exceeds stated income of $55,000 per year. Timeline. 4 months ago, Sarah and I visit Brilliance & Company to look at styles. 3 months ago, I purchased ring alone, $8,300. 6 weeks ago, secret deposit of $4,200. 2 months ago, Daniel sees Sarah with unknown man. Yesterday, discovered fake ring. You stare at the document. $7,600 stolen from you, but only $4,200 deposited. Where did the other $3,400 go? Split with Vanessa for facilitating the scam? Paid to the mysterious investor behind Brilliance & Company? Spent on those designer handbags and fancy trips? At 5:15, you meet Daniel at the coffee shop across from the Harrison building. It's one of those artisanal places that charges $7 for a latte and has Wi-Fi passwords printed on receipts. Daniel's already secured a table by the window with a clear view of the building's main entrance and parking garage exit. You look terrible, Daniel says as you sit down. I feel terrible. Did you sleep at all? Maybe 2 hours. You order an Americano from the hovering barista, then turn your attention to the Harrison building across the street. It's all glass and steel, the kind of modern architecture that's supposed to convey innovation and success. Sarah works on the 14th floor for a marketing firm called Apex Solutions. You've picked her up from work exactly 3 times in the 3 years you've been together. She always preferred meeting you places, said it was easier than coordinating schedules. Now you're wondering if she just didn't want you anywhere near her workplace. Didn't want to risk coworkers mentioning things that contradicted whatever story she'd been telling you. What's our plan if she doesn't come out alone? Daniel asks. We follow anyway. I need to see where she goes, who she's with. And if she spots us? She won't. Sarah's not paranoid. She has no reason to think I'm suspicious. The words taste like ash in your mouth. The fact that you're sitting here, preparing to surveil your own girlfriend like she's a suspect in a crime, which, legally, she probably is, feels surreal. This isn't your life. You write code, you play tennis on weekends, you're boring and stable and ordinary. You're not the guy who sits in coffee shops planning to tail his girlfriend through city traffic. Except now you are. At 5:53, you spot her. Sarah emerges from the building's revolving doors, and your breath catches despite everything. She's wearing that blue dress you complimented last week, her auburn hair catching the late afternoon light. She looks beautiful and completely at ease, checking her phone as she walks toward the parking garage. Nothing in her body language suggests guilt or anxiety. She's just another professional ending her workday, maybe thinking about dinner or what to watch on Netflix later. That's her, you tell Daniel unnecessarily. I see her. Okay, she's heading to the garage. I parked on the street 2 blocks down, we need to move now. You leave money on the table and follow Daniel out. His car is a nondescript gray Camry, perfect for blending into traffic. You climb into the passenger seat, and Daniel starts the engine just as Sarah's white Civic emerges from the garage entrance. There, you point. Daniel pulls into traffic 3 cars behind her. I've watched enough detective shows to know you never follow directly behind. We keep at least 2 vehicles between us, and if she turns, we give it a beat before following. You almost laugh at the absurdity of your best friend giving you surveillance tips learned from television, but the humor dies before it reaches your throat. This is really happening. You're really following Sarah, watching her brake lights as she navigates downtown traffic, tracking her like she's prey and you're the predator. Except you're not the predator here. You're just trying to figure out who the real predator is. Sarah doesn't head toward her apartment in the Riverside district like you expected. Instead, she drives west, toward the Lakewood area, one of the city's most expensive neighborhoods. Waterfront properties, gated communities, the kind of place where hedge fund managers and tech executives buy weekend homes that cost more than most people earn in a lifetime. Where is she going? Daniel mutters, keeping his distance as Sarah's Civic winds through increasingly upscale streets. I have no idea. She's never mentioned knowing anyone in Lakewood. Sarah turns into a development called Harborview Estates. There's a guard gate, but it's open, shift change, maybe, or residents coming and going frequently enough that they've given up closing it between vehicles. Daniel follows at a careful distance, holding back as Sarah drives deeper into the community. The houses here are stunning, modern architecture, manicured lawns, triple garages, views of the lake glittering in the distance. This is the kind of wealth that doesn't need to announce itself because everyone already knows. You pass a house with a Tesla and a Porsche in the driveway, another with a fountain in the front yard, another that looks like it was designed by the same architect who does contemporary art museums. Sarah pulls into the driveway of a house near the end of a cul-de-sac. It's a sprawling 2-story with floor-to-ceiling windows, a perfectly manicured front garden, and an outdoor kitchen visible through the side gate. The house easily costs $3 million, maybe more. Daniel parks on the street a few houses back, positioning his car so you can see Sarah's vehicle but aren't directly conspicuous. Okay, he says quietly. So either she's visiting someone very wealthy, or she lives here, you finish. You watch Sarah get out of her car. She doesn't knock on the door or ring a bell. She pulls keys from her purse, not a single key, but a full keychain, and unlocks the front door like she owns the place. Like she's done this 1,000 times before. She disappears inside, and for a moment, you just sit there in Daniel's car, trying to process what you're seeing. Sarah has keys to a multi-million-dollar house in one of the city's most exclusive neighborhoods. Sarah, who told you she rents a modest studio for $1,200 a month. Sarah, who said she makes $55,000 a year and splits her time between her place and yours. Mark, Daniel says carefully. I don't think she lives in that studio apartment. I don't think she lives anywhere near a studio apartment. You pull out your phone and open the property records website, typing in the address. It takes a moment to load, but when it does, the information is public record, 847 Harborview Drive. Owner, Richard K. Harrison. Purchase price, $3.2 million. Purchased 4 years ago. Richard K. Harrison. RKH. Daniel, you say, your voice strange and distant. Remember that Shell Corporation listed as a silent partner in Brilliance and Company? RKH Investments? Yeah. This house is owned by Richard K. Harrison. Richard K. Harrison. RKH. Daniel goes very still. You think this Richard guy is the investor in the jewelry store? I think he might be more than an investor. I think he might be the architect of the whole operation. And Sarah. Sarah has keys to his house. Sarah walks in there like she belongs. You feel something cold settle in your chest, crystallizing into a hard knot of understanding. Daniel, I don't think Sarah is just scamming me. I think she's working with this guy. I think they're partners. As if summoned by your words, a car pulls into the driveway behind Sarah's Civic. It's a black Mercedes S-Class, the kind with enough technology to probably drive itself. A man gets out, tall, fit, salt and pepper hair styled perfectly. He's wearing a suit that probably costs what you make in a month, and he moves with the easy confidence of someone who's never had to worry about money a day in his life. That's him, Daniel says. That's the guy I saw with Sarah at the restaurant. You watch Richard K. Harrison walk to his own front door, unlock it with his own keys, and disappear inside where Sarah is waiting. The door closes behind him. The house sits there in the afternoon sun, beautiful and serene, hiding whatever truth is unfolding behind its expensive walls. What do you want to do? Daniel asks. You think about the fake ring sitting in your apartment. You think about the proposal that's supposed to happen in 3 days. You think about 3 years of your life spent loving someone who apparently doesn't exist. Not really, not the way you thought she did. I want to see what happens next, you say. I want to watch this house and see if Sarah leaves, and when she leaves, where she goes. I want to know if she actually has that studio apartment or if that's another lie. I want to understand how deep this goes before I decide what to do about it. We could be here for hours. Then we'll be here for hours. So you wait. Daniel orders pizza to be delivered to his car. The delivery guy looks confused but hands it through the window anyway. You eat cold pepperoni and watch a house where your girlfriend is doing God knows what with a man who might be her actual partner, her real relationship, while you're just the convenient mark who fell for her performance. The sun sets. Lights come on inside the house, warm and golden through those floor-to-ceiling windows. You can see movement inside, figures passing through rooms, but not enough detail to know what they're doing. Are they having dinner? Discussing business? Laughing about how easy it was to steal $7,000 from the idiot software engineer who thought a cubic zirconia was forever? At 8:30, the front door opens. Sarah emerges, but she's changed clothes. Instead of the blue work dress, she's wearing jeans and a casual sweater, clothes that were obviously already at the house, waiting for her. She's carrying an overnight bag. She gets in her Civic and backs out of the driveway. Richard stands in the doorway, watching her leave. He raises a hand in a casual wave. Sarah waves back, smiling. Follow her? Daniel asks, already starting his engine. Follow her. Sarah doesn't drive toward the Riverside district where she claims her studio apartment is located. She doesn't drive toward your apartment either. Instead, she heads northeast, toward the suburban sprawl where the city gradually dissolves into strip malls and residential developments that all look vaguely identical. This doesn't make any sense, Daniel mutters, keeping his careful distance as Sarah's Civic navigates through increasingly ordinary neighborhoods. She leaves a $3 million mansion to go, where? The suburbs? You're wondering the same thing. You watch the landscape change through the passenger window, the expensive boutiques and trendy restaurants giving way to chain stores and family diners, the kind of places where you get free refills and the menu has pictures. This is Middle America territory, the world of two-car garages and HOA regulations and kids playing basketball in driveways. Sarah turns into a development called Maple Ridge. The houses here are nice enough, well-maintained, modest two-story homes with practical yards and sensible cars. It's the kind of neighborhood where young families live, where people have barbecues and know their neighbors' names. It's so aggressively normal that it makes your head spin after watching Sarah walk into that Lakewood mansion like she owned it. She pulls into the driveway of a house on Ashford Lane. It's a pleasant enough place, cream-colored siding, black shutters, a small front porch with 2 rocking chairs. There's a child's bicycle lying on its side in the yard and a mini soccer goal near the garage. Does Sarah have a kid? Daniel asks, confused. Not that I know of. She's never mentioned anything about children. But Sarah's getting out of her car again, and once more she's using keys, a different set this time, to unlock the front door. She walks inside like she belongs there too, and the door closes behind her. You sit in Daniel's car, parked 3 houses down, trying to make sense of what you're seeing. First a mansion in Lakewood, now a suburban home in Maple Ridge. How many houses does Sarah have keys to? How many lives is she living? I'm going to look up this address, you say, pulling out your phone with shaking hands. The property records load, 2847 Ashford Lane, Maple Ridge. Owner, Sarah Mitchell. Purchase price, $285,000. Purchased 18 months ago. She owns this house, you say aloud, and the words sound wrong, impossible. Sarah owns this house. She bought it a year and a half ago. While dating you? While dating me and telling me she rents a studio apartment for $1,200 a month. You do the math quickly in your head. A mortgage on this place would be what, maybe $1,800 a month? Plus property taxes, insurance, utilities. Where is she getting that kind of money? The answer feels obvious now, crystallizing with horrible clarity. From you. From other marks like you. From whatever operation she's running with Richard Harrison and Brilliance and Company. Sarah isn't a victim or a pawn in someone else's scam. She's an architect, a builder of elaborate lies, and she's apparently successful enough to own property. There's a kid's bike in the yard, Daniel says quietly. And toys. Mark, what if Sarah has a family? What if she has a whole other life here that you never knew about? The thought makes your stomach revolt. You think about every time Sarah mentioned being too tired to come over, every work commitment she claimed kept her busy, every Tuesday and Wednesday she spent at her apartment because of early meetings. What if she was here? What if there's a husband, kids, a complete domestic existence that she returns to when she's done playing the loving girlfriend with you? I need to see inside that house, you say. That's insane. You can't just. I need to know, Daniel. I need to see what's in there, who's in there. Is there a family? Is this where she stashes her money? What is this place? And how exactly do you plan to see inside without breaking and entering? You think about this, forcing your mind to work logically despite the emotional chaos. The windows. We can walk around like we're neighbors, maybe see through the curtains. It's not fully dark yet, and if the lights are on inside. Daniel looks deeply unhappy with this plan, but he doesn't argue. You both get out of the car and walk casually down the sidewalk, trying to look like you belong in this neighborhood. A woman jogging past with a dog nods at you. A teenager rolls by on a skateboard, earbuds in, oblivious. Normal evening activities in a normal neighborhood where normal people live normal lives. The front windows of Sarah's house have sheer curtains, enough for privacy but not complete opacity. As you walk past, trying not to be obvious, you can see inside. The living room is furnished simply but comfortably, a couch, a television, family photos on the mantel that you can't quite make out from this distance. Sarah is visible in the kitchen, visible through a pass-through window. She's making tea, you think, or coffee, moving around the space with familiar ease. And she's not alone. There's a woman sitting at the kitchen table. Older, maybe late 50s, with gray hair cut in a practical bob. She's wearing a cardigan and glasses, and she's talking to Sarah, gesturing animatedly about something. Sarah laughs at whatever the woman said, and the sound carries faintly through the window, that same laugh you've heard 1,000 times, the one you used to think was genuine. Is that her mother? Daniel whispers. You don't know. Sarah told you her mother died when she was 16. She told you she had no close family, that it was just her navigating the world alone, a detail that made you want to protect her, to be her family, to give her the stability she claimed she'd never had. But if her mother is dead, who is that woman in the kitchen? You move past the house before you attract attention, circle the block, and return to Daniel's car. Your hands are shaking. Your entire body feels like it's vibrating at a frequency just slightly wrong, like you've been knocked out of phase with reality. Call her, Daniel says suddenly. What? Call Sarah. Right now. See what she says, where she claims to be. It's a test, you realize. A way to measure the depth of her deception. You pull out your phone and dial Sarah's number, watching the house as the phone rings. Through the window, you can see Sarah pull her phone from her pocket, glance at the screen, smile. Hey babe. Her voice is warm, affectionate, perfectly calibrated. I was just thinking about you. How's your work crisis going? Still working through it, you lie, the words feeling strange in your mouth. Might be here another few hours. How's your evening? Oh, you know, just boring stuff at my place. I ordered Thai food, thought I'd catch up on that show we've been watching. Wish you were here. She's in the kitchen of a house she owns, standing 10 feet from a woman who might be her supposedly dead mother, and she's telling you she's alone in a studio apartment that probably doesn't exist. What are you wearing? The question comes out before you can stop it. Sarah laughs. That's random. Why, getting flirty even while debugging code? Just curious. Let's see, my gray sweatpants and that old NYU shirt. Super glamorous, I know. Why? You're looking at her through the window. She's wearing jeans and a burgundy sweater. Not sweatpants. Not a shirt from a university you're now wondering if she ever actually attended. No reason. Just wanted to hear your voice. I should get back to work. Okay, baby. Don't work too hard. Love you. Love you too, you say automatically, and hang up. You sit there in the car, watching Sarah put her phone away and return to her conversation with the gray-haired woman. She's still smiling, relaxed, completely at ease. She just lied to you without hesitation, without even a pause to consider the truth. It came as naturally to her as breathing. She lied about everything, you say flatly. Where she is, what she's wearing. She's standing right there, and she lied. Mark. 3 years, Daniel. 3 years I've been with her. How much of it was real? Any of it? You feel something breaking inside your chest, something you didn't even know could break. It's not quite your heart, that feels too simple, too clean. It's more like the foundation of your understanding of reality is cracking, leaving you unmoored and uncertain. We should go, Daniel says gently. Before someone notices us sitting here. But you can't look away from the house. From Sarah moving around her secret kitchen in her secret house with her secret maybe mother, living a life that has nothing to do with you, that maybe never had anything to do with you. Were you ever real to her? Or were you always just a mark, a target, a convenient source of money and maybe cover for whatever else she's running? Movement at the front door pulls your attention. The gray-haired woman is leaving, giving Sarah a hug before walking to a Subaru parked on the street. Sarah waves from the doorway, and the woman drives away. Sarah goes back inside, and the door closes. Daniel starts the car. Where to? Fifth National Bank. The one where Sarah has her secret account. I want to see if we can learn anything else. Mark, it's almost 9 p.m. Banks are closed. Then we go first thing in the morning. I want to know how much money she has in that account. I want to see deposit records if possible. I need to understand the scope of this. Daniel pulls away from the curb, and you watch Sarah's house disappear in the side mirror. You know you can't just walk into a bank and demand to see someone else's financial records, right? Even if you found her account number. I know. But I can open an account there, get a feel for the place. Maybe if I ask the right questions. You trail off, knowing it's a long shot but unable to let it go. You need information. You need to understand what Sarah's been building while you thought you were building a future together. The drive back to the city passes in silence. Daniel drops you at your apartment, promising to meet you at the bank in the morning. You ride the elevator to your floor feeling like you're moving through water, everything slow and distorted. Inside your apartment, everything looks the same as it did this morning. The fake ring still on the counter, Sarah's drawer still full of her things, the coffee mugs in the sink from breakfast 2 days ago when everything was still normal. But nothing is the same. Every object, every space feels contaminated by what you now know. You sit on your couch and pull out your phone, scrolling through photos of you and Sarah. Beach trips. Holiday parties. That weekend in the mountains where you'd told her you loved her for the first time. She's smiling in every photo, her arm around you, her head on your shoulder, the picture of a woman in love. Was any of it real? Did she feel anything at all? Your phone buzzes. A text from Sarah. Boring night alone made me miss you extra, can't wait for Friday. 3 more days until Monica's mysterious surprise dinner. 3 more days until the proposal that's not going to happen. 3 more days of Sarah maintaining her performance, confident that you don't know anything, that you'll never find out. She has no idea you followed her tonight. No idea you've seen her mansion and her secret house and her maybe mother who's supposed to be dead. You text back, missing you too. Can't wait to see you Friday. And you mean it, in a way she'll never expect. You can't wait to see Sarah on Friday. Because by then, you're going to know everything. And when you do, when you finally understand the full architecture of her deception, you're going to decide exactly how to take it all apart. Wednesday morning arrives with rain, the kind of persistent drizzle that makes the city look gray and defeated. You meet Daniel at Fifth National Bank at 9:30, right when they open. The bank is one of those old institutions trying to look modern, with marble floors that echo every footstep and tellers behind glass partitions who smile with professional detachment. Remember, Daniel says quietly as you walk in, we're just here to open a savings account. Nothing suspicious. We're not asking about Sarah. You nod, but your mind is already working through possibilities. The key you found in Sarah's jewelry box, number 247, is almost certainly a safe deposit box key. And if it's for this bank, then somewhere in this building is a box containing whatever Sarah values enough to hide away. A banker named Patricia helps you open a basic savings account. She's efficient and pleasant, explaining interest rates and online banking features while you nod and sign forms. When she's done, you take a calculated risk. I'm also interested in getting a safe deposit box, you say casually. For important documents, that kind of thing. Of course. We have several sizes available. Let me show you our options. Patricia leads you through a security door into the vault area. It's exactly what you'd expect. Rows of metal boxes in various sizes, a private viewing room with a table and chairs, the hushed atmosphere of secrets kept behind steel. Your eyes scan the box numbers as subtly as possible. They're organized numerically. Box 247 would be there. 3rd row from the bottom, about halfway down the wall. Our small boxes are 75 annually, Patricia is saying. Medium boxes are 150, and large boxes are 300. What were you thinking? You're thinking that box 247 is a medium size, and you're wondering what Sarah keeps inside it. Let me consider it, you say. I'll probably come back once I've sorted through my documents at home. Back in the main lobby, you notice something. Behind the teller windows, there's a door marked Private Banking Services. And through the small window in that door, you can see a familiar figure. Vanessa Chen is sitting at a desk, talking on the phone. She's wearing a professional blazer, and on her desk is a nameplate you can just barely read, Vanessa Chen, Private Banking Associate. You freeze. Daniel follows your gaze and swears under his breath. She works here too, you whisper. Vanessa works at the jewelry store and at the bank. Or maybe, Daniel says slowly, she doesn't really work at the jewelry store. Maybe she just has access because of Richard Harrison's investment. But her real job is here, at the bank where Sarah keeps her secret money. The pieces are falling into place with sickening clarity. Vanessa has access to financial records. She can see account balances, transaction histories, maybe even safe deposit box rentals. She's perfectly positioned to help Sarah manage the money from her scams, to move it around, to keep it hidden from people like you who might start asking questions. You're about to leave when Vanessa looks up from her phone call. Her eyes meet yours across the lobby. For a split second, her professional smile falters. Recognition flashes across her face. You're Sarah's boyfriend, the guy from the engagement ring purchase. But then her expression smooths over, and she gives you a small, polite nod like you're just another customer she vaguely recognizes. We need to go, Daniel mutters, pulling you toward the exit. Outside, the rain has intensified. You stand under the bank's awning, watching water stream off the edge like a curtain. She knows I was there. Maybe she won't tell Sarah. Of course she'll tell Sarah. They're working together. Vanessa's probably texting her right now. Your boyfriend was just at the bank asking about safe deposit boxes. Thought you should know. Daniel pulls out his phone, checking the time. So what do we do? Sarah's going to be on alert now. She might change her patterns, move her money, hide evidence. You think about the key still hidden in Sarah's jewelry box at your apartment. If Sarah finds out you've been investigating, the first thing she'll do is secure her assets. She'll empty that safe deposit box, move the money from her Fifth National account, cover her tracks. You'll lose any chance of understanding the full scope of what she's done. We move faster, you say. We get into that safe deposit box before Sarah has time to react. How? You can't just break into a bank vault. No, but I can get Sarah's key. And if I have her key, maybe I can convince the bank I'm authorized to access the box. Daniel stares at you. That's insane. First of all, you don't even know for sure that key is for box 247. Second, banks require ID to access safe deposit boxes. You can't just show up with a key and walk in. Safe deposit boxes can have multiple authorized users, you counter. What if Sarah listed me as an authorized user? We've been together 3 years, we were planning to get married. It's not unreasonable that she might have added me to her box. That seems like a huge assumption. It is. But I have to try. You pull out your phone and start Googling. Look, it says here that safe deposit box holders can designate joint access or allow authorized representatives. If Sarah put me on the box, maybe thinking she'd never need to worry about me finding the key, then I can legally access it. And if she didn't? Then I'm out of options and I'll have to find another way. You're already walking toward your car, Daniel jogging to keep up. I'm going to my apartment to get the key. Then I'm coming back here and asking to access box 247. Worst case, they say no and I leave. Mark, think about this. If they say no and you push, they might call the police. You could get arrested for attempted fraud or theft. You stop walking and turn to face Daniel. The rain is soaking through your jacket now, cold water running down your neck. Sarah has stolen from me. She's been lying to me for God knows how long. She owns a house I didn't know about, has a relationship with a man I didn't know existed, works with her friend to run scams through a jewelry store and a bank. I need leverage, Daniel. I need something concrete that proves what she's done, or she's just going to deny everything and disappear. Daniel is quiet for a moment, rain dripping off his nose. Finally, he nods. Okay. But I'm coming with you. If this goes south, you're going to need a witness who can testify you weren't trying to commit a crime. The drive back to your apartment feels surreal. You're planning to potentially commit fraud, or at the very least, to push the boundaries of legal access, and somehow this feels justified. Normal you would never do this. Normal you follows rules, respects laws, believes in proper channels and official procedures. But normal you existed in a world where your girlfriend was who she said she was, where engagement rings were real, where love meant something. You're not in that world anymore. At your apartment, you go straight to Sarah's drawer. Your hands shake as you open the jewelry box, press on the false bottom, retrieve the brass key. Number 247, small and innocent looking, holding the potential to unlock Sarah's secrets. You photograph the key and the deposit slip again, just in case. Then you put the key in your pocket and close the drawer carefully. Everything must look undisturbed. If Sarah comes by later, which she might, if Vanessa warned her, nothing can seem out of place. Back at Fifth National Bank, you approach a different banker, a young man named Kevin with an eager smile and a name tag so shiny it might be his first week. Perfect. Hi, I need to access my safe deposit box, you say, projecting confidence you don't feel. Number 247. Of course. I'll just need to see your ID and the key. You hand over both, watching Kevin's face as he pulls up the box information on his computer. This is the moment of truth. Either Sarah listed you as authorized, or she didn't. Either this works, or you're about to have a very uncomfortable conversation about why you're trying to access someone else's safe deposit box. Kevin's fingers pause on the keyboard. He frowns slightly, clicks something, then looks up at you with that same eager smile. Okay, Mr. Thompson, everything looks good. Let me take you back. Mr. Thompson. That's you. You're authorized. Sarah put you on her safe deposit box. Daniel, standing beside you, lets out a breath he's been holding. You follow Kevin through the security door, back into the vault area you saw earlier. He uses a bank key and your key, Sarah's key, to open box 247. Inside is a long metal container. You can use the private room, Kevin says, gesturing to the small viewing room. Take your time. Just let me know when you're finished. He leaves, closing the door behind him. You and Daniel stand there for a moment, staring at the metal box on the table between you. She put you on the box, Daniel says quietly. Why would she do that? Plausible deniability, maybe? If anything ever came to light, she could claim I had full access, knew everything, was even complicit. Or maybe. You pause, considering. Maybe she was planning to frame me. If the scam ever got discovered, she could say I was the one running it, that I had sole access to the money and assets. That's seriously dark. So is everything else she's done. You open the metal box. Inside are documents. Lots of documents. You start pulling them out, spreading them on the table. There are bank statements from multiple accounts, not just the Fifth National account, but accounts at 3 other banks. The balances make your vision blur. $47,000 at Fifth National, $62,000 at Metro Savings, $38,000 at United Federal, $51,000 at Citibank. Sarah has nearly $200,000 spread across 4 accounts. There's more. Property deeds, the Maple Ridge house you saw last night, but also a condo in Florida and a rental property in Nevada. Stock certificates. A folder labeled Business Assets that contains partial ownership documents for 3 different companies, including a 20% stake in something called Brilliance & Company. Sarah doesn't just work with the jewelry store. She's a part owner. Jesus Christ, Daniel breathes, looking over your shoulder. Mark, she's not just a scammer. She's running a whole operation. This is organized crime level stuff. You keep digging. There's a ledger, handwritten, with initials and dates and amounts. MT $8,300, ring scam. That's you. Mark Thompson, reduced to initials and a dollar amount. But there are others. So many others. JP, $12,000, investment opportunity. RM, $6,500, watch purchase. DL, $15,000, business loan. The list goes on for 3 pages, spanning back nearly 5 years. The total at the bottom of the last page makes your stomach drop, $287,000. Sarah has scammed nearly $300,000 from various victims over 5 years. And there, at the very bottom of the safe deposit box, you find photographs. Pictures of Sarah with different men, some at restaurants, some at events, some candid shots that look like they were taken by someone else. Each photo has a name and notes written on the back. One shows Sarah with a man in his 50s at what looks like a charity gala. David Lancaster, tech executive, good for $20,000 plus, likes feeling like a mentor. Another shows her with a younger guy, maybe early 30s, at a wine bar. James Park, hedge fund, insecure about his background, play up the "we're both outsiders" angle. And you. There's a photo of you and Sarah from your first date 3 years ago, taken at the restaurant where you met. On the back, in Sarah's handwriting, Mark Thompson, software engineer, stable income, relationship-oriented, long-term mark, minimum $50,000 potential. You were marked from day one. From the very first date, Sarah was calculating how much money she could extract from you over time. The relationship, the love, the plans for a future, all of it was part of a long-term con designed to bleed you dry. You sink into the chair in the private viewing room, still holding the photograph. Your first date. You remember that night so clearly, the nervous energy, the way Sarah laughed at your jokes, how she'd touched your hand across the table when you were telling a story about your college roommate. You'd felt like the luckiest guy in the world. You'd gone home that night and called Daniel to tell him you'd met someone special. $50,000 potential. That's what you were worth to her. Daniel is photographing everything with his phone, the bank statements, the ledgers, the documents, the photographs. We need evidence of all this, he says quietly. We need proof that can't be denied. You nod numbly, watching him work. Your mind feels detached, floating somewhere above your body, observing all of this from a great distance. Is this shock? Probably. You're looking at documentary evidence that your entire relationship was a calculated fraud, that you were never a person to Sarah but rather a resource to be exploited. And somehow your brain is trying to protect you by making it all feel unreal, like you're watching a movie about someone else's life falling apart. Mark, Daniel says, and there's urgency in his voice now. Look at this. He's holding a document from the bottom of the box, a printed email exchange between Sarah and Richard Harrison, dated 8 months ago. You force yourself to focus, to read the words. From Richard Harrison. To Sarah Mitchell. Subject, Q3 targets. Sarah, good work on the Thompson mark. 3-year timeline shows patience and planning. Once you get the ring purchase done, we should see $8,000 to $10,000 return. Have you considered the real estate angle? If you can get him to co-sign on a property investment, we could pull significantly more. The Riverside condo deal is still available if you want to position it as our future play. Also, the Brilliance inventory needs to move faster. We have 6 high-value pieces with swapped stones sitting too long. Chen can only cover the paper trail for so long before accounting flags the discrepancies. Push your network harder. We need those pieces sold within 60 days. October targets, $50,000 minimum across all active marks. You're currently trending at $42,000. Close the Thompson engagement, move the swapped inventory, and work the Lancaster charity angle harder. He's good for at least $15,000 if you play the struggling artist story right. Richard. From Sarah Mitchell. To Richard Harrison. Subject, Q3 targets. Richard, Thompson is locked in. I'll execute the ring purchase next month. He's already talking about proposals and I've steered him toward B&Co. Vanessa has the documentation ready. Easy $8,300. The real estate angle is tricky with him. He's cautious about investments and likes to do his research. I don't think he'll bite on co-signing without extensive due diligence that would expose the fraud. Better to milk him through smaller plays. I'm thinking a medical emergency for my fake aunt in 6 months could pull another $3,000 to $5,000. Then a business opportunity with my fake friend startup could get another $10,000 if positioned correctly. Lancaster is responding well to the mentorship dynamic. I'm playing vulnerable and ambitious. He loves feeling like my savior. Gallery opening next week. I'll hit him up for investment in my art career then. Should clear $12,000 to $15,000 easily. Brilliance inventory issue noted. I'll push harder on the secondary network. Chen is getting nervous about the paper trail though. Maybe we need to consider shutting down that particular revenue stream soon and pivoting to something cleaner? Current month tracking. $38,000 closed, $12,000 pending. I'll hit the targets. Sarah. You read the exchange twice, then a third time. The casual tone, the business-like discussion of human beings as marks and revenue streams. The way Sarah refers to you as Thompson, like you're a file in a cabinet rather than someone she tells, I love you, 3 times a day. She was planning to hit you for more money, Daniel says. The fake aunt medical emergency, the startup investment. This was just the beginning. You think about the past 3 years. Every moment of affection, every intimate conversation, every time Sarah made you feel loved and wanted. All of it was calculated. All of it was performance. She's a predator, and you were prey that didn't even know it was being hunted. We need to go to the police, Daniel says firmly. This is fraud, conspiracy, organized crime. Mark, this is bigger than just you getting scammed. Look at that ledger. She's stolen nearly $300,000 from people. This is serious criminal activity. The police can't help me yet. What do you mean they can't help? This is evidence of multiple crimes. You start gathering the documents, carefully organizing them back into the metal box. Your hands are steady now, your mind clearing. Think about it, Daniel. If we go to the police right now with this, what happens? They launch an investigation, maybe arrest Sarah and Richard and Vanessa. Great. But during that investigation, which could take months, all these victims in the ledger, they don't know they've been scammed. Some of them might not even believe it. And Sarah and Richard have had time to build relationships with these people, to create plausible deniability. So what, you're just going to let her get away with it? No. I'm going to make sure when this comes out, it comes out in a way where there's no escape. Where Sarah can't talk her way out of it, can't claim I'm a vengeful ex making things up, can't convince these other victims that I'm lying. You look at Daniel directly. The proposal is Friday night. Sarah thinks she's about to get engaged. Everyone we know will be there watching. She made sure Monica spread the word that something big was happening. What if instead of a proposal, Sarah gets exposed? Publicly. Undeniably. Daniel's eyes widen. You want to expose her at the proposal? I want to bring everything to light in front of witnesses. Friends, colleagues, people who know her. I want to make it impossible for her to spin this into something else. And then, once she's exposed publicly, we go to the police with all this evidence and any claims she makes about me being involved or complicit will be obviously false. That's revenge. That's justice. You close the metal box, ready to return it to the vault. Sarah has spent years carefully building trust with people just to exploit them. She's destroyed that trust, stolen money, ruined lives probably. The police investigation will get her eventually, but the public exposure? That ensures there are no second chances, no plea deals that let her slide with minimal consequences. She loses everything, her reputation, her freedom, her entire carefully constructed life. Daniel is quiet for a long moment. Finally, he nods slowly. Okay. I'm in. What do you need me to do? Help me plan this. We have 2 days to set up something that will force the truth into the open in a way that can't be denied or dismissed. You return the box to the vault, thank Kevin for his help, and walk out of Fifth National Bank with digital evidence of Sarah's entire operation stored on Daniel's phone. The rain has stopped, and weak sunlight is trying to break through the clouds. The city looks washed clean, which feels absurdly optimistic given what you've just learned. In the car, Daniel turns to you. Are you sure about this? Exposing her publicly is brutal. Some people might think you're being vindictive. Some people might be right, you admit. But Daniel, look at what she's done. How many lives has she damaged? How many people are out there right now, thinking they're in real relationships with someone who's just calculating how much money they can extract? This isn't just about me. This is about stopping her before she ruins anyone else. Okay. So Friday night, rooftop restaurant, you've got a violinist hired and everyone thinks you're proposing. How do we turn that into an exposure? You think about this as Daniel drives. The pieces are starting to form a plan in your mind. The proposal setup is perfect because Sarah will be expecting one specific thing, a romantic moment, a ring, me on one knee. She'll have her guard down because she thinks she's won, thinks she's about to lock in an engagement that she can use to extract even more money from me over time. That's when we hit her with the truth. In front of how many people? Monica will be there, obviously. Sarah told her to bring her boyfriend. And I told a few people from work that I might have big news Friday night, suggested they stop by the restaurant if they're around. I'd estimate maybe 15 to 20 people will be there, either invited or just dining at the restaurant. And you're going to, what, exactly? Make a speech about how she scammed you instead of proposing? Something like that. But I need more than just my word against hers. I need Richard Harrison there too. And Vanessa Chen. I need all three of them in the same place when the truth comes out, so none of them can deny involvement or claim they were used by the others. Daniel whistles low. How are you going to get Richard Harrison to show up to your proposal? That's the question, isn't it? You think about the email exchange, about Richard's obvious partnership with Sarah in this operation. An idea starts forming. Sarah's email to Richard mentioned she was working the Lancaster charity angle. David Lancaster, tech executive, good for at least $15,000. What if we create a situation where Richard thinks he needs to be at the restaurant Friday night? Some kind of emergency or opportunity that requires his presence? Like what? I don't know yet. Let me think about it. You pull out your phone and start scrolling through the photographs Daniel took of the safe deposit box contents. There has to be something here you can use, some leverage or angle. Then you see it. In the business assets folder, there was a document you barely glanced at before, a contract between RKH Investments and a company called Milestone Properties LLC. Richard Harrison is partnering with someone named Gerald Winters on a real estate development deal. The contract is dated 4 months ago, and there's a clause about a milestone payment due on November 1st, this Friday. Daniel, what if we contact Richard Harrison pretending to be from Milestone Properties? What if we tell him there's an issue with the milestone payment and we need to meet Friday night to resolve it urgently? He'd verify that through official channels, wouldn't he? Maybe. But what if we make it sound enough like an emergency that he shows up just to be safe? Real estate developers are paranoid about deals falling through. If he thinks there's even a small chance this is legitimate and he could lose millions by not showing up. It's risky. It might not work. But you're running out of time and options. Friday is 2 days away, and you need all the players in position for this to work. You spend the rest of Wednesday planning. Daniel helps you craft an email that sounds like it could legitimately be from a real estate development firm. You use a name from the Milestone Properties contract, Gerald Winters' assistant, supposedly, and request an urgent in-person meeting at the restaurant Friday night at 8 p.m. to discuss payment timeline concerns that could impact project viability. The email is vague enough to sound serious without providing details that Richard could easily verify as false. You send it from a burner email address and then wait, watching your phone like it might explode. 20 minutes later, Richard Harrison responds, "I'll be there. This better not be a waste of my time." He's coming. One player secured. Now for Vanessa Chen. You can't use the same trick. She'd be immediately suspicious if she got a random meeting request. But you don't need to trick her. You just need Sarah to bring her along, and you have an idea for that too. You text Sarah, "Hey babe, random thought. You know how Monica's planning this mystery dinner Friday? What if she invited Vanessa too? I know you guys don't see each other as much as you'd like. Might be fun to have her there." Sarah responds almost immediately, "OMG, that's so sweet. I'll ask Monica to reach out to her. V has been so busy with work, but I bet she'd love to come. You're the best." Too easy. Sarah has no idea she's helping you assemble all the pieces for her own downfall. By Wednesday evening, the plan is in motion. Richard will be there, thinking he's attending a business meeting. Vanessa will be there, thinking she's attending a celebration dinner. Sarah will be there, expecting a proposal. And you'll be there with evidence, witnesses, and the truth. 2 more days. Thursday crawls by with excruciating slowness. You go through the motions of normal life, shower, dress, commute to work, but everything feels performative, like you're acting out the role of someone who hasn't discovered that his entire relationship is a fraud. Your coworkers ask about your weekend plans, and you smile and say something vague about dinner plans. They don't need to know that those dinner plans involve systematically destroying 3 people's lives in front of a crowd. Sarah texts you throughout the day. Normal texts. Sweet texts. Can't stop thinking about tomorrow night. Monica is being so secretive, lol. Whatever it is, I'm just excited to spend the evening with you, you respond with equally normal messages, playing your role in her performance. Except now you're aware that's all it is, a performance on both sides. At lunch, you meet Daniel at a sandwich shop near your office. He's brought his laptop, and you huddle in a back corner booth, going over the plan one more time. "I talked to the restaurant," Daniel says quietly. "Told them there might be a dramatic moment during dinner tomorrow and to please not intervene unless someone's safety is at risk." The manager was confused but agreed. "I think he assumes you're planning some kind of elaborate proposal surprise." "Good. What about the violinist?" "Still booked. I contacted her this morning and explained that the evening might not go as originally planned, but you still want her there. She seemed fine with it. Apparently dramatic proposals gone wrong pay the same as successful ones." You pull out your phone and review the script you've been working on. You've written out what you're going to say tomorrow night, practiced it in your apartment mirror until the words stopped catching in your throat. It needs to be clear, factual, devastating. No room for Sarah to twist your words or claim you're misunderstanding things. "Have you heard back from any of the other victims?" Daniel asks. This was your idea from last night, to reach out to some of the people listed in Sarah's ledger, the ones you could identify from the initials and amounts. You'd found 3 of them through social media and sent carefully worded messages. "I believe we may have both been scammed by the same person. Would you be willing to talk?" 2 haven't responded. But 1 did. James Park, the hedge fund guy from the photograph, marked 4, insecure about his background. He'd called you at 7 this morning, voice tight with anger and confusion. "She took me for 18,000, James had said. Told me she was starting a consulting business and needed capital. I thought we were partners." I thought, he'd stopped, unable to finish the sentence. "I thought she loved me." You'd felt a kinship with James Park in that moment, this stranger who'd also been marked and exploited. You'd told him about tomorrow night, about the public exposure you were planning. He'd been quiet for a long moment, then said, "I want to be there. I want to see her face when she realizes she's caught." James Park is coming tomorrow, you tell Daniel now. He's going to be at the restaurant, and when the moment comes, he's going to speak up. Add his voice to the exposure. That's good. The more witnesses, the more undeniable it becomes. Daniel closes his laptop. "Mark, I have to ask, are you prepared for how Sarah is going to react? She's spent years building this operation. She's not going to go down quietly." "I know. She might try to turn it around on you. Claim you're making it all up out of spite. Claim you're unstable or obsessed. She's clearly an expert manipulator. She's going to try every trick she has to save herself. You've thought about this, too. Sarah's going to fight. She's going to deny, deflect, maybe even attack. She might cry, might play the victim, might try to make everyone in that restaurant believe you're the villain and she's the innocent girlfriend being ambushed by a controlling, jealous man. That's why we need the evidence visible, you say. I'm bringing printouts of the bank statements, the ledger, the emails between her and Richard. When she tries to deny it, I'll show everyone in that restaurant exactly what she's been doing. And with Richard and Vanessa there, unable to coordinate their stories, the truth is going to be impossible to hide. Daniel nods slowly. Okay. And after? After the exposure happens and everything falls apart? The police. We take all the evidence, the photos, the documents, everything from the safe deposit box, and we file a formal complaint. Fraud, conspiracy, theft. Let the legal system handle the rest. And Sarah's other victims? The ones in the ledger? I'll provide the police with that list. They can reach out to everyone, start building a case. Some people might not want to come forward, might be embarrassed, might want to just forget it happened. But enough will. James Park definitely will. There will be others. You finish your sandwich without tasting it, washing it down with coffee that's gone cold. Tomorrow. Everything comes together tomorrow. 3 years of lies, months of careful planning on Sarah's part, and it all ends in one evening at a rooftop restaurant with a view of the city lights. How are you feeling? Daniel asks. Emotionally, I mean. This is a lot to process. How are you feeling? You're not entirely sure. There's anger, obviously, a deep, burning fury at being used and manipulated for 3 years. There's grief, too, for the relationship you thought you had, for the future you'd imagined. That future is dead now, and you're mourning it even though you know it was never real to begin with. But there's something else underneath the anger and grief. Something cold and focused and maybe a little bit frightening. You want justice. You want Sarah to face consequences for what she's done, not just to you, but to James Park and David Lancaster and all the other names in that ledger. You want Richard Harrison's operation shut down. You want Vanessa Chen to lose her cozy banking job that she's been using to facilitate fraud. I'm feeling determined, you say finally. I'm feeling like tomorrow night can't come fast enough. The rest of Thursday passes in a blur. You go home, order takeout that you barely eat, and practice your speech one more time. You lay out the clothes you're going to wear, nothing too formal, nothing that screams, I'm about to destroy my girlfriend's life. Just a nice button-down shirt and slacks, the kind of thing you'd wear to a nice dinner. The fake ring sits on your counter, and you pick it up one last time. The cubic zirconia catches the light, throwing tiny rainbows across your palm just like it did that first night when you discovered the truth. It looks perfect. It looks real. That's the thing about good fakes, they're convincing until you know what you're looking at. You wonder if Sarah feels the same way. Convincingly real until you know what you're looking at. How many hours did she spend practicing her smile, her laugh, the way she touched your hand? How many times did she rehearse saying, I love you, until it sounded genuine? She's a professional, you realize. This is her job, and she's good at it. But tomorrow, everyone is going to see past the performance. Your phone buzzes. Sarah, tomorrow. Smiling face with heart eyes, I'm so excited I can barely sleep. Thank you for being the most amazing boyfriend in the world. I don't know what I did to deserve you, but I'm so grateful every single day. Red heart, red heart, red heart. You stare at the message. The most amazing boyfriend in the world. You don't know what you did to deserve her, but you're so grateful. You know exactly what you did to deserve her attention. You had money she could steal, and you were naive enough not to see it coming. And she's not grateful. She's calculating. Even this text is probably strategic, designed to keep you feeling appreciated and loved right up until the moment she executes her next phase of the scam. You type back, I'm grateful for you too. Tomorrow is going to be unforgettable. And you mean it. Tomorrow is going to be unforgettable, just not in the way Sarah expects. Friday morning arrives with clear skies and unseasonably warm weather, as if the universe is mocking you with perfect proposal weather. You wake up early, too anxious to sleep, and go for a run. The physical exertion helps, burning off some of the nervous energy that's been building for days. You shower, dress in normal work clothes, and head to the office. You've taken the afternoon off, told your boss you needed time to prepare for something important. That's true enough. You need to get ready, to make sure everything is in place, to mentally prepare yourself for what you're about to do. At noon, Daniel picks you up from your apartment. In the back seat of his car are folders full of printed evidence, bank statements, emails, photographs, the ledger pages. Everything you need to prove what Sarah has done. Last chance to back out, Daniel says, though his tone makes it clear he doesn't expect you to take that option. I'm not backing out. Good. Because I already told James Park to be at the restaurant by 7:30. He's flying in from Chicago. This surprises you. He's flying in? He said he wouldn't miss this for anything. Said Sarah took more than money from him, she took his ability to trust. He wants to look her in the eye when she realizes she's been caught. You understand that completely. It's not just about the money for you either. It's about reclaiming something Sarah took, your sense of reality, your ability to trust your own judgment, your belief that you could recognize when someone was lying to you. You spend the afternoon at Daniel's apartment, going over the plan one final time. At 6:30, you change into your nice clothes. Daniel puts on a suit. He wants to look credible, he says, like someone whose testimony would be taken seriously if things get contentious. At 7, you arrive at the rooftop restaurant. It's called Skyline, and it's exactly as beautiful as you remember from your anniversary dinner. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, elegant tables with white tablecloths, soft music playing from hidden speakers. The manager, Carlos, greets you with a knowing smile. Ah, Mr. Thompson. Your table is ready. And the violinist is here as well, prepared for whatever happens this evening. He glances at the folders Daniel is carrying but doesn't comment. Thank you, Carlos. I appreciate your discretion. Your table is by the windows, with a perfect view of the city lights starting to twinkle as dusk approaches. The violinist sets up nearby, and a few other diners are already seated around the restaurant. This is good. You want witnesses, want people who will remember this evening and be able to corroborate what happened. At 7:15, James Park arrives. He's younger than you expected, maybe early 30s, dressed impeccably in a suit that probably costs more than your monthly rent. But his eyes are hard, and when he shakes your hand, his grip is firm with shared purpose. Thank you for doing this, he says quietly. For stopping her before she ruins anyone else. Thank you for coming. For being willing to speak up. At 7:30, Richard Harrison arrives. He looks irritated, checking his expensive watch as he speaks with Carlos. You can't hear the conversation, but you see Carlos gesture toward a table on the opposite side of the restaurant, far enough from your table to not be obvious, but close enough that Richard will see everything when it happens. Richard sits down, orders a drink, and pulls out his phone. He has no idea what's about to happen. No idea that the urgent meeting he thinks he's attending is a trap designed to put him in the same room when his partner's operation gets exposed. At 7:45, Monica arrives with her boyfriend and, perfect, Vanessa Chin. The three of them are laughing about something as Carlos guides them to a table near yours. Vanessa is dressed elegantly, clearly expecting a celebratory evening. She has no idea she's about to be implicated in a criminal conspiracy in front of witnesses. And finally, at 8 o'clock, Sarah walks in. She's breathtaking. She's wearing the burgundy dress you love, her hair styled perfectly, her smile radiant as she spots Monica and waves. She hasn't seen you yet, you've positioned yourself so you're not immediately visible from the entrance. She's laughing, talking with Monica, completely at ease. This is her element, this carefully curated social performance. Then she turns, sees you standing by your table, and her face lights up with genuine seeming delight. She hurries over, and for just a moment, one horrible, disorienting moment, you wonder if you're wrong about everything. If maybe there's some explanation, some reasonable justification for the safe deposit box and the secret house and the ledger of victims. But then she kisses your cheek, and you smell her perfume, the same perfume she was wearing in the photograph with James Park, with David Lancaster, with all the other marks in her collection, and you remember. This is what she does. This is her job. And she's very, very good at it. "Hi baby," Sarah says, her eyes shining. "I'm so excited for whatever Monica has planned. This is going to be such a fun night." You smile back at her, and your voice is steady when you reply, "Yes, it is. It's going to be a night no one here will ever forget." The first 20 minutes pass in agonizing normalcy. Sarah sits beside you, holding your hand above the table, chatting with Monica about work and weekend plans. Vanessa joins the conversation, mentioning something about a busy week at the bank. You watch her carefully, but she shows no signs of recognizing you from Fifth National. Either she genuinely didn't tell Sarah about seeing you, or Sarah is an even better actress than you thought. The violinist begins to play, soft, romantic music that fills the spaces between conversations. Other diners glance over occasionally, some smiling at what they assume is a proposal about to happen. The city spreads out beyond the windows, millions of lights marking millions of lives being lived, most of them probably more honest than what's happening at this table. You catch Daniel's eye across the room. He's seated at a nearby table, the folders of evidence on the chair beside him. He gives you a small nod. "Ready." James Park sits 3 tables away, his jaw tight, watching Sarah with an expression that's half fascination, half disgust. She hasn't noticed him yet. Why would she? He's just another diner in an upscale restaurant, not someone from her carefully compartmentalized life of victims and scams. Richard Harrison is checking his watch again, looking increasingly annoyed. The representative from Milestone Properties hasn't shown up yet because, of course, that person doesn't exist. But Richard is here, and that's what matters. Sarah squeezes your hand. "Are you okay? You seem distracted." "Just thinking," you say, and it's true enough. "About what?" "About how much can change in a few days. How you think you know someone, know your life, and then suddenly everything shifts." Sarah's expression softens into something that looks remarkably like genuine affection. "That's so philosophical. I love that about you, you're always thinking deeply about things. It's one of the million reasons I love you." Monica, overhearing this, makes an exaggerated sound. "You two are literally the cutest. Mark, whatever you have planned, it better live up to the hype." "Oh, I think it will exceed everyone's expectations," you say. The waiter brings appetizers, oysters, artisan bread, a cheese plate that probably costs more than most people spend on groceries for a week. Sarah selects an oyster, tips it back with practiced elegance. "These are amazing. Mark, you have to try one." You take an oyster, let the briny taste fill your mouth, and think about how many expensive meals Sarah has eaten on money stolen from victims. How many designer handbags, how many luxury trips, how many bottles of champagne toasted to celebrate successful scams. At 8:30, you stand up. The restaurant noise doesn't exactly hush, people are still eating, still talking, but there's a subtle shift in attention. Several diners glance your way, anticipation evident on their faces. They've been waiting for this, for the proposal moment they've been primed to expect. Sarah looks up at you, surprised. "Mark? What are you?" "Ladies and gentlemen," you say, your voice carrying across the restaurant. Not shouting, but clear and firm. "I apologize for interrupting your evening, but I need to share something important. Something everyone here should know." Now the restaurant does go quiet. Conversations stop mid-sentence. Forks are set down. All attention turns to you. Sarah's face shows confusion mixed with delight. She thinks this is part of the proposal, some elaborate public declaration of love. Monica is grinning, phone already out to record the moment. But Vanessa's expression has shifted. There's a wariness in her eyes now, a tension in her shoulders. She's worked with Sarah long enough to sense when something is wrong. And Richard Harrison, he's finally looked up from his phone, finally noticed you standing, and there's a flicker of something in his face. Not recognition exactly, but awareness. Some predatory instinct telling him that the situation has changed in a way he doesn't yet understand. Sarah, you say, looking directly at her. 3 months ago, I bought you an engagement ring. I spent $8,300 on a 1-carat diamond ring from Brilliance & Company. I wanted it to be perfect, because I thought we were going to spend our lives together. Sarah's smile is radiant, expectant. This is it, she's thinking. This is the proposal. But when I took the ring to be resized, you continue, I learned something devastating. The diamond wasn't real. It was cubic zirconia. Worth about $50, not the $8,000 I paid. The smile falters. Just slightly, just for a moment, but you see it. Sarah's calculating now, trying to figure out where this is going, how to respond. Mark, what are you talking about? There must be some mistake. There was no mistake. The ring was fake. And at first, I couldn't understand how that happened. How could a reputable jewelry store sell me a fake diamond? But then I started investigating, and I discovered something interesting. You gesture toward Vanessa. Your college friend Vanessa works at Brilliance & Company. You never mentioned that to me. In fact, you told me she worked at a consulting firm. Vanessa goes pale. Monica looks confused, glancing between you and Vanessa. Wait, V, you work at a jewelry store? That's not, Vanessa stammers. She also works at Fifth National Bank, you continue. In private banking. Which gave her access to financial records, the ability to help move money around, hide assets. And she helped facilitate the scam where I paid for a real diamond but received a fake one. The difference, $7,600, went somewhere. And I wanted to know where. Sarah stands now, her face a mask of concern that's almost convincing. Mark, you're not making sense. This sounds like some kind of paranoid. I accessed your safe deposit box, you say, and watched the color drain from her face. Box 247 at Fifth National. The one you put me on as an authorized user. I saw everything, Sarah. The bank statements showing $200,000 across multiple accounts. The property deeds for the house in Maple Ridge that you own, not the studio apartment you claim to rent. The ledger documenting every person you've scammed over 5 years, nearly $300,000 total. The restaurant has gone completely silent now. You can hear the violinist's bow slide across strings, can hear someone's sharp intake of breath. Monica's phone is still recording, capturing every word. That's insane, Sarah says, but her voice has lost its warmth. It's colder now, calculating. You broke into my private property? That's illegal, Mark. You're clearly having some kind of breakdown. I didn't break in. I was authorized. You put me on that box yourself, probably so you could claim I knew about everything if your operation ever got discovered. Plausible deniability, or maybe you were planning to frame me. You turned to address the restaurant. In that safe deposit box, I found detailed records of Sarah's cons, photographs of her with various men, notes on the back describing how much money she thought she could extract from each one. There was a photo of me from our first date with a note, long-term Mark, minimum $50,000 potential. Sarah's mask is cracking now. The girlfriend persona is falling away, revealing something harder underneath. You're making this up. You're angry about something and you're making up crazy stories. James, you call out. Would you mind joining us? James Park stands and walks to your table. Sarah's eyes widen as she recognizes him. James? What are you? Hello, Sarah, James says, his voice cold. Or should I say hello to the woman who told me she loved me, who convinced me to invest $18,000 in her consulting business that never existed. $18,000 that you stole and then disappeared, blocking my number and vanishing from my life. I don't know what he's talking about, Sarah says, but she's looking around now, looking for exits, calculating escape routes. This is some kind of conspiracy. Daniel, you say, and your best friend approaches with the folders. Let's show everyone the evidence. Daniel opens the first folder, and you start displaying printouts on the table, bank statements, the ledger with its list of victims, the email exchange between Sarah and Richard Harrison. Monica leans forward, reading, and her expression shifts from confusion to horror. "Oh my God," Monica whispers. "Sarah, is this real? Did you really?" And speaking of Richard Harrison, you say, turning to face the man who's been watching all this unfold from across the restaurant. "Mr. Harrison, would you care to explain your partnership with Sarah? Your investment in Brilliance and Company, the jewelry store that's been swapping real diamonds for fakes? The shell corporation you used to hide your ownership? The emails discussing quarterly targets and which victims to hit next?" Richard stands slowly. He's not panicking like Vanessa or scrambling like Sarah. He's assessing, thinking several moves ahead like the experienced predator he is. "I have no idea what you're talking about. I've never seen this woman before in my life." "Really?" You pull out your phone, display the photograph of Sarah entering Richard's mansion in Lakewood, the one Daniel took. "Because I have photos of Sarah entering your home with her own keys. I have documents showing she owns 20% of Brilliance and Company through your shell corporation. I have email records of you two planning cons together." "Those could be faked," Richard says smoothly. "Photoshopped. Anyone can make up documents. Can anyone make up property records?" You display the information showing Richard's ownership of the Lakewood house, then the safe deposit box contents showing Sarah's business relationship with him. "Can anyone fake bank statements from multiple financial institutions?" A man in an expensive suit at a nearby table stands up. He's been listening to everything, and now he pulls out his phone. "I'm calling the police. This sounds like fraud and conspiracy. If what you're saying is true, these people need to be arrested." Sarah's eyes dart to the exits again. You see her muscles tense, preparing to run. But Daniel has positioned himself near the door, and James Park has moved to block the other exit. She's trapped. "Don't bother running, Sarah," you say quietly. "I've already filed a complaint with the police. Detectives are reviewing all the evidence from your safe deposit box right now. They're getting warrants for your bank accounts, your properties, everything. This restaurant exposure is just to make sure you can't spin this into something else. Can't claim I'm a jealous ex making up stories. Everyone here has witnessed this. Everyone here has seen the evidence." Vanessa is crying now, mascara running down her face. "I didn't want to do it," she sobs. "Richard said if I didn't help, he'd tell the bank about some discrepancies in my previous job, get me fired. I needed the money, I needed." "Shut up," Richard snaps at her. "Don't say another word without a lawyer." But it's too late. Vanessa's admission has been recorded by multiple phones now. Monica is still filming, and other diners have pulled out their devices. This is going to be all over social media within the hour. The proposal that became an exposure, the girlfriend revealed as a con artist, the romantic dinner that turned into a public unmasking. Sarah looks at you, and for just a moment, something real flashes across her face. Not love, she never loved you. But maybe respect, or recognition. You beat her at her own game. You were patient, careful, thorough. You gathered evidence, set a trap, and sprang it perfectly. You should have just taken the loss, Sarah says, her voice flat now, the performance completely abandoned. You should have written it off and moved on. Most marks do. They're too embarrassed to admit they were fooled. I'm not embarrassed, you say. I'm angry. And I'm making sure you never fool anyone else again. The police arrived 10 minutes later. Apparently multiple diners called 911 once the fraud allegations started flying. 2 officers enter the restaurant, take in the scene, and approach your table. You hand them the folders of evidence, explain calmly and clearly what Sarah, Richard, and Vanessa have been doing. The lead officer, a woman named Detective Morrison, flips through the documents with increasing interest. Mr. Thompson, we're going to need you to come to the station and give a full statement. But based on what I'm seeing here, we have probable cause to detain these 3 individuals for questioning. Sarah is handcuffed first. She doesn't resist, doesn't cry, doesn't beg. She just looks at you one last time as the officer leads her away, and you can't read her expression. Is it hatred? Defeat? Some cold calculation about how to minimize her legal exposure? Richard Harrison demands his lawyer, threatens to sue everyone in the restaurant, proclaims his innocence loudly enough that several diners pull out their phones to record his protestations. It's not going to help him. The evidence is too strong, too comprehensive. Vanessa goes quietly, still crying, still trying to explain that she was coerced, that she's really a victim too. Maybe there's some truth to that, but she still facilitated fraud, still helped steal from people. The courts will sort out her culpability. The restaurant slowly empties as police take statements from witnesses. Carlos, the manager, handles the situation with remarkable grace, offering complimentary drinks to the remaining diners who've just witnessed what will probably be the most dramatic dinner service of their careers. The violinist packs up her instrument quietly, definitely not the romantic evening she'd expected when she took this gig. Monica approaches you, her expression a mixture of shock and guilt. Mark, I had no idea. I swear to God, I had no idea what Sarah was doing. She was my friend, or I thought she was. I feel like such an idiot. You're not an idiot. Sarah's a professional. She fooled a lot of people. You gesture to the folders of evidence. There are dozens of victims in those records. Smart people, successful people. She's just that good at what she does. Did, Monica corrects. What she did. Past tense. Because she's done now, right? She's going to prison. That's up to the legal system. But with the evidence we have, with multiple victims willing to testify. You glance at James Park, who's giving his statement to a uniformed officer. Yeah, I think she's going to prison. Monica's boyfriend, who's been silent throughout all this, finally speaks. Monica, did you really not know? About any of it? No. I thought Sarah was a marketing coordinator, that she had a studio apartment, that she and Mark were this perfect couple. I thought tonight was going to be a proposal, not this. Monica looks at you. I'm so sorry, Mark. For whatever role I played in this, even unknowingly. For encouraging your relationship, for planning tonight. I feel sick. You didn't know, you repeat. Sarah compartmentalized her life perfectly. Different stories for different people, enough truth mixed with lies that nothing seemed suspicious. That's how she got away with it for so long. Detective Morrison approaches, closing her notepad. Mr. Thompson, we're going to need you downtown to give a complete statement. Tonight, if possible. And we'll need access to all the evidence you've collected, the safe deposit box contents, any recordings or photographs, everything. Of course. I have digital copies of everything. Daniel photographed all the documents before we returned them to the safe deposit box. Smart. Though I should mention that accessing someone else's safe deposit box, even if you were authorized, is a legally gray area. A defense attorney might try to argue you violated privacy laws. You nod. I understand. But everything I found is still legitimate evidence of crimes that were committed. And I was legally authorized to access that box. Sarah put me on it herself. That may help your case. We'll see. But Mr. Thompson, I have to ask, why didn't you come to us first? When you discovered the fake ring, when you found the evidence, why set up this public exposure instead of filing a police report? You've been expecting this question. Because Sarah's operation relied on victims not knowing they were victims, or not wanting to admit they'd been fooled. If I'd just filed a report, she would have had time to contact her other marks, spin some story, convince them that I was a disgruntled ex making false accusations. But this way, with public exposure, with multiple witnesses, with other victims like James Park speaking up, There's no way for her to control the narrative. The truth is out, and it can't be taken back. Detective Morrison considers this, then nods slowly. I don't necessarily approve of your methods, but I understand your reasoning. And truthfully, this public exposure might help us identify more victims. Once this story hits the news, and it will hit the news, other people who were scammed by Sarah Mitchell are going to come forward. She's right. By tomorrow morning, this will be everywhere. Local news, social media, maybe even picked up by national outlets if the story is compelling enough. Con artist exposed at fake proposal is exactly the kind of headline that generates clicks and shares. Sarah's face will be plastered across the internet, and everyone she ever scammed will see it. Some will stay silent, too embarrassed to come forward. But others will reach out, will add their voices to the growing chorus of victims. Daniel appears at your elbow. Ready to go downtown? I'll drive you. Thanks. For everything. I couldn't have done this without you. Yes, you could have. But I'm glad you didn't have to. Daniel glances around the restaurant, at the remaining diners still processing what they witnessed, at the police officers comparing notes. This is going to be a story people tell for years. The proposal that wasn't. The girlfriend who was a con artist. The public exposure at Skyline Restaurant. You follow Daniel out to his car, and the night air feels different somehow, cleaner, lighter, like a pressure you didn't realize you were carrying has finally lifted. The worst is over. The truth is out. Sarah can't hurt anyone else now. At the police station, you spend 3 hours giving a detailed statement to Detective Morrison and her partner, a younger detective named Lou. You walk them through the entire timeline, from the fake ring discovery to the safe deposit box contents to tonight's restaurant exposure. You provide copies of every photograph, every document, every piece of evidence you collected. This is incredibly thorough, Detective Lou says, scrolling through the digital files. You should consider a career in law enforcement. I'll stick with software engineering. Less stressful. Detective Morrison leans back in her chair. We're going to pursue charges of fraud, conspiracy to commit fraud, theft by deception, and identity theft against all 3 defendants, Mitchell, Harrison, and Chen. Based on the evidence you've provided, I'm confident we can build strong cases. But I want to manage your expectations, Mr. Thompson. These things take time. Trials can drag on for months, sometimes years. And wealthy defendants like Richard Harrison have resources to mount expensive defenses. I understand. But at least the operation is shut down now. They can't scam anyone else while they're fighting legal battles. True. And that matters. Detective Morrison closes her notepad. You're free to go, Mr. Thompson. We'll be in touch as the investigation progresses. You'll likely be called to testify when this goes to trial. I'll be ready. Daniel drives you home in silence. It's past midnight now, and the city has that peculiar quiet that comes in the small hours, still alive, still moving, but subdued. When you get to your apartment building, Daniel parks and turns to you. How are you feeling? Really? You consider the question. How do you feel? Exhausted, certainly. The adrenaline that carried you through the evening has drained away, leaving you hollow and shaky. But there's also something like satisfaction, or maybe closure. You did what you set out to do. You exposed Sarah, stopped her operation, ensured she'd face consequences for her crimes. I feel like I just finished running a marathon, you say finally. Exhausted but accomplished. Relieved that it's over but dreading all the cleanup that comes next. What cleanup? Legal proceedings. Testimony. The inevitable media attention once this story gets out. Explaining to my family and co-workers what happened. Processing 3 years of my life that were built on lies. You run a hand through your hair. And figuring out how to trust people again. How to date again. How to believe that someone loves me without wondering if they're calculating how much money they can extract. That's going to take time, Daniel says gently. This kind of betrayal doesn't heal quickly. But it does heal. You will trust again. You will have real relationships. This doesn't define the rest of your life. You want to believe him. Right now, sitting in a car at 1 in the morning after watching your girlfriend get arrested for running a con operation, it's hard to imagine ever trusting anyone romantically again. But Daniel's right, this isn't forever. The pain is intense now, but it will fade. Eventually. Thanks for being here through all this, you say. For believing me, for helping me investigate, for standing with me tonight. I literally couldn't have done this without you. That's what friends are for. Now go inside, get some sleep. Tomorrow's going to be intense once the news breaks. You climb out of the car and head into your building. The elevator ride to your floor feels surreal, like you're the same person who rode this elevator 2 weeks ago, but also fundamentally different. That person believed in his relationship, trusted his girlfriend, thought he was building toward a future of marriage and family. This person knows better. This person has learned that sometimes the people closest to you are strangers wearing familiar faces. Inside your apartment, you look around at the space you shared with Sarah, her drawer full of clothes, her toothbrush in the bathroom, her favorite mug in the kitchen cabinet. Evidence of a relationship that never existed, not really. You're going to have to pack up her things, box them up and, what? Mail them to the Maple Ridge house she owns? Leave them for the police as additional evidence? You pull out your phone and see dozens of missed calls and texts. Your parents, asking what's going on. Someone sent them a link to video footage from the restaurant that's already circulating online. Co-workers, expressing shock and support. Unknown numbers that are probably reporters looking for an interview. One text catches your attention. It's from an unknown number, sent 20 minutes ago. Mr. Thompson, my name is David Lancaster. I saw the video from tonight. Sarah told me she needed $15,000 for art gallery investment. I gave it to her 6 weeks ago. Thank you for exposing her. Please let me know how I can help with the investigation. Another victim. Another person Sarah exploited. You feel a surge of vindication. You were right to expose her publicly, right to make sure the truth came out in a way that couldn't be hidden or spun. David Lancaster wouldn't have known he was scammed if not for tonight. How many others are out there, seeing the videos, realizing they were marks too? You text back, thank you for reaching out. Please contact Detective Morrison at the City Police Department. She's building the case and needs victim statements. I'm sorry for what Sarah did to you. His response is immediate, I'm sorry for what she did to you too. But you stopped her. That takes courage. You set your phone down and walk to your kitchen counter. The fake ring is still there in its navy velvet box, where it's been sitting for days like a monument to deception. You pick it up, open it one last time. The cubic zirconia sparkles innocently, beautiful and worthless. Tomorrow you'll contact a lawyer about recovering your money, probably a long shot, but worth trying. Tomorrow you'll start the process of untangling your life from Sarah's, of figuring out what comes next. Tomorrow you'll deal with the media attention and the questions and the complicated feelings about being simultaneously a victim and an avenger. But tonight, you're just tired. Bone deep, exhausted to your core tired. You set the ring box on your nightstand, change into pajamas, and climb into bed. The sheets still smell faintly like Sarah's perfume, and you make a mental note to wash them tomorrow. Or maybe just throw them out and buy new ones. Start fresh. Your last thought before sleep takes you is this: 3 years of your life were built on lies, but at least the next 3 years, the next 30 years, will be built on truth. Whatever comes next, however you rebuild, it will be real. That has to count for something. It has to be enough. You wake up Saturday morning to your phone buzzing incessantly. Not just texts now, but calls, dozens of them, from numbers you don't recognize. You silence the phone and check the time, 9:30 a.m. You've slept almost 7 hours, which feels like a miracle given everything that happened last night. The internet, you discover, has been busy while you slept. A quick search of your name brings up dozens of articles. Software engineer exposes girlfriend's multi-year con operation at fake proposal. Woman arrested after boyfriend reveals $300,000 fraud scheme. Romantic dinner turns into public takedown of alleged con artist. The videos from last night have millions of views across various platforms. Your face is everywhere. Sarah's face is everywhere. The whole sordid story is being dissected by strangers across the country. Some of the commentary is supportive. This guy is a hero for exposing her publicly. Imagine planning to propose and finding out your whole relationship was a scam. I hope she goes to prison forever. But there's also criticism. He could have just gone to the police instead of humiliating her in public. This seems cruel and vindictive. Two wrongs don't make a right. You expected this. You knew that publicly exposing Sarah would generate controversy, would lead to debates about whether your methods were justified. Some people will always sympathize with the person being exposed, will see the public humiliation as excessive regardless of what crimes they committed. But you stand by your decision. Sarah spent years carefully cultivating her operation, and a quiet police report would have given her time to cover tracks, intimidate victims, and spin narratives. The public exposure ensured she couldn't control the story. Your parents call at 10. Your mother is crying before you even say hello. Mark, sweetheart, we saw the videos. We can't believe, Sarah seemed so nice. We liked her so much. How could she do this to you? You spend 20 minutes reassuring your parents that you're okay, that yes, this is shocking and painful but you're handling it, that no, you don't need them to fly out immediately. Your father, practical as always, asks about the legal situation and whether you'll be able to recover any of the stolen money. You tell him honestly that you don't know. Sarah has assets, but there are other victims with claims too, and whatever money gets recovered will probably have to be divided among everyone she defrauded. At least she's caught, your father says. At least she can't hurt anyone else. That becomes the refrain you hear throughout the morning as you field calls and texts from friends, extended family, even former co-workers who saw the news. At least she's caught. As if that makes up for 3 years of lies, for the violation of trust, for the money stolen and the emotional damage done. It doesn't make up for it. But it helps. Knowing that Sarah is in custody, that she's facing real consequences, that her operation is dismantled, it helps. By noon, you've received contact from 7 more of Sarah's victims. They all saw the videos, recognized her, realized they'd been scammed. The amounts vary, $3,000 here, $12,000 there, $25,000 from a man who thought he was investing in Sarah's startup company. Each message tells a similar story. Sarah was charming, attentive, seemingly genuine. She identified what each person wanted: love, partnership, validation, opportunity, and offered it to them while slowly extracting money through various schemes. You forward all their information to Detective Morrison, building the case against Sarah one victim at a time. By the time this is done, she'll probably be facing dozens of criminal charges. Richard Harrison and Vanessa Chen too. The legal proceedings will be complex, lengthy, and probably exhausting. But necessary. At 2 p.m., a lawyer named Patricia Gaines calls you. She specializes in fraud cases and has been following the news coverage. She offers to represent you pro bono. The publicity from this case will be valuable for her practice, and she believes in helping victims of fraud get justice. You accept gratefully. You'll need legal representation as the case progresses, and having an experienced fraud attorney will help navigate the complicated process of trying to recover stolen assets. Daniel comes by your apartment in the afternoon with takeout Chinese food and beer. You eat in your living room, watching news coverage of the story with a kind of surreal detachment. There's footage of Richard Harrison being led into the police station in handcuffs, his expensive suit rumpled, his expression furious. There's Sarah's mugshot. She looks tired but still beautiful, still composed even in the worst moment of her life. There's speculation about how long the operation had been running, how many victims there might be, whether there are other accomplices who haven't been caught yet. This is so weird, you say, watching a news anchor discuss your relationship like it's a case study. Strangers analyzing my life, debating my choices, forming opinions about me based on 5-minute news segments. Welcome to your 15 minutes of fame, Daniel says dryly. Enjoy it. In a week, there'll be some new scandal and everyone will forget about this. I hope so. I just want to go back to normal. Normal is going to look different now, Daniel points out. You can't go back to who you were before all this. You can only go forward into whoever you're becoming after it. He's right, of course. You're not the same person who bought that fake ring 3 months ago. You're not even the same person who walked into Skyline restaurant last night. You've been fundamentally changed by this experience, hardened in some ways, more cautious, less willing to take people at face value. Whether that's good or bad remains to be seen. Over the next week, the investigation expands. Detective Morrison calls regularly with updates. They've identified 18 victims so far, with more coming forward every day. The total stolen amount is approaching $400,000. They've seized Sarah's bank accounts, put liens on her properties, frozen Richard Harrison's assets. Vanessa Chen, in exchange for a plea deal, is cooperating fully, providing details about how the operation worked, which pieces of jewelry had swapped stones, how they laundered money through various accounts. The picture that emerges is more sophisticated than you initially realized. Richard Harrison wasn't just Sarah's partner, he was her mentor. He'd been running cons for 20 years before meeting Sarah 5 years ago. He taught her the trade, refined her natural talents for deception, and helped her build an operation that generated hundreds of thousands of dollars annually. Brilliance and Company was just one revenue stream. They also ran investment scams, fake charity fundraisers, and various online schemes. Sarah was essentially running a full-time criminal enterprise while maintaining the appearance of a normal marketing coordinator. She could have made just as much money doing legitimate business, Detective Morrison tells you during one of your meetings. She's smart, charismatic, hardworking. She could have been a successful entrepreneur or executive. But she chose crime instead. Some people are wired that way. They get a thrill from deception that legitimate success can't provide. You think about this often in the following weeks. What made Sarah choose this path? Was it purely about money, or was there something else? Some psychological need to manipulate, to control, to prove she could fool people? You'll probably never know. Sarah isn't talking to anyone except her lawyer, and she certainly isn't going to provide you with insights into her motivations. The preliminary hearing happens 3 weeks after the arrest. You attend with Patricia Gaines, sitting in the courtroom as Sarah, Richard, and Vanessa are formally charged with multiple counts of fraud, conspiracy, theft, and money laundering. Sarah looks different than she did that night at Skyline, thinner, paler, with dark circles under her eyes that even makeup can't quite hide. Prison, apparently, doesn't agree with her. When her eyes meet yours across the courtroom, there's nothing there. No anger, no remorse, no recognition of what she destroyed. Just emptiness. You wonder if that's who she really is underneath the performances, just empty space where emotions should be, filled in temporarily with whatever persona serves her purpose in the moment. Richard Harrison's lawyer argues aggressively for bail, claiming his client is a respected businessman being falsely accused by disgruntled former associates. But the evidence is overwhelming, and the judge denies bail for all 3 defendants. They're considered flight risks with substantial resources that could aid in fleeing prosecution. As you leave the courthouse, reporters swarm you with questions. You've mostly avoided media interviews, given one statement through Patricia Gaines and otherwise maintained silence. But today, standing on the courthouse steps with cameras pointed at you, you decide to say something. Sarah Mitchell stole from me. She stole from nearly 24 people that we know of, possibly more. She stole money, yes, but also trust. She stole years of our lives, emotional energy, the ability to believe in authentic human connection. I exposed her publicly because I wanted to make sure she couldn't do this to anyone else, couldn't manipulate the narrative or intimidate victims into silence. I stand by that decision. And I hope that anyone else who's been scammed by Sarah or Richard Harrison or anyone running similar operations will come forward. You're not alone, and it's not your fault that you were fooled by professionals. The statement makes headlines. Victim speaks. She stole trust. You get messages from other fraud victims thanking you for speaking up, for validating their experiences. It helps, knowing that your ordeal might prevent others from suffering similar betrayals. 2 months after the arrest, Patricia Gaines sits down with you to discuss the financial recovery process. "Here's the reality," she says gently. "Sarah had about $200,000 in liquid assets that had been frozen. Richard had considerably more, but he also has other creditors and legal claims against his assets. Vanessa had very little. She was taking a smaller cut of the operation. Once everything is liquidated and divided among all the victims proportionally based on what they lost, you'll probably recover about 40% of what Sarah stole from you." 40%. You lost over $8,000. Well, more than that if you count the money spent on dinners, gifts, trips over 3 years, and you'll get back maybe $3,000. The rest is just gone, absorbed into the legal system and divided among too many victims with legitimate claims. That's better than nothing, you say, and mean it. You never expected to get everything back. At least you'll get something. There's also the possibility of restitution ordered as part of sentencing, Patricia continues. If Sarah and Richard are convicted, and they will be, the evidence is overwhelming, the judge can order them to pay back their victims as part of their sentence. But collecting on that restitution is notoriously difficult. Most convicted fraudsters never fully pay what they owe. So this is it. This is what justice looks like. This is what justice looks like, Patricia confirms. It's messy and incomplete and often unsatisfying. But it's something. Sarah will go to prison, probably for years. Richard too. They won't be able to hurt anyone else for a long time. That has to count for something. It does count for something. You remind yourself of this often over the following months as the case slowly works through the legal system. Sarah and Richard eventually take plea deals. Sarah gets 7 years, Richard gets 12. Vanessa gets 3 years with parole after 18 months for her cooperation. The sentences feel inadequate for the damage they caused, but there's something. Their acknowledgement that what was done to you and the other victims was wrong, was criminal, deserves punishment. 6 months after that night at Skyline, you sit in a therapist's office for the first time in your life. Her name is Dr. Rachel Kim, and she specializes in trauma recovery, particularly for victims of fraud and intimate betrayal. Patricia Gaines recommended her, said that prosecuting Sarah was only part of the healing process. The other part was dealing with the psychological damage. "Tell me how you're sleeping," Dr. Kim says during your 3rd session. "Better than at first, you admit." "For the first month, I'd wake up at 3 a.m. every night, replaying conversations with Sarah in my head, trying to figure out which moments were real and which were performance. Now I mostly sleep through the night. Except when I have the dreams. The dreams where she comes back." You nod. "The recurring nightmare, Sarah standing at your apartment door, smiling, explaining that everything was a misunderstanding, that she really did love you, that if you just listen to her side of the story you'll understand. In the dream, you always want to believe her. You always feel yourself starting to doubt your own memories, your own evidence. And you always wake up in a panic, needing to check news articles to confirm that yes, Sarah was really arrested, really convicted, really in prison. The betrayal was real. Those dreams are normal, Dr. Kim says. Your mind is processing trauma. For 3 years, Sarah trained you to trust her, to believe her explanations, to doubt your own perceptions when they conflicted with her narratives. That conditioning doesn't disappear overnight just because you intellectually know she was lying. Your subconscious is still working through it. You've been learning a lot about manipulation tactics in these sessions. Gaslighting, making you doubt your own perceptions. Love bombing, overwhelming you with affection to create dependency. Intermittent reinforcement, mixing genuine seeming intimacy with distance to keep you always working for her approval. Sarah was a textbook manipulator, and you were a textbook victim. Understanding the mechanics of how you were fooled helps, somehow. It makes it less about your personal failings and more about someone with expertise exploiting systematic psychological vulnerabilities. Have you tried dating yet? Dr. Kim asks. No. I can't imagine it. How do I trust someone enough to be vulnerable again? How do I ever believe that someone loves me for real, not because they're running some long con? Those are valid fears. But Mark, Sarah is unusual. Most people aren't running elaborate fraud operations. Most people are genuine in their relationships, even if those relationships don't always work out for other reasons. How do I tell the difference? Sarah seemed genuine too. You learn the warning signs. You move slower. You maintain healthy boundaries. You don't ignore red flags just because you want the relationship to work. Dr. Kim leans forward. But also, you have to accept that there's no perfect safety. Every relationship requires vulnerability, which means risk. You can minimize that risk through awareness and caution, but you can't eliminate it entirely. The question is whether the potential for genuine connection is worth accepting some level of risk. You're not sure yet. Right now, the answer feels like no, the risk is too high, the potential pain too great. But Dr. Kim says that will change with time, that your capacity for trust will rebuild gradually as you process the trauma and learn healthier relationship patterns. Work has become your refuge. Code doesn't lie. Algorithms are predictable. If something doesn't work, you can debug it, find the error, fix it. Unlike relationships, where problems can be invisible and unfixable. Your boss has been understanding about the whole situation, gave you extra time off when the media attention was overwhelming, hasn't pried into the details beyond asking if you're okay. Your coworkers mostly treat you normally now, though you occasionally catch them looking at you with a mixture of sympathy and fascination. You're that guy who exposed his girlfriend at a fake proposal. It's how you'll be known at the company probably forever. You're considering looking for a new job in a year or so, starting fresh somewhere without that baggage. But for now, the familiar routine helps. Daniel remains your anchor through all of this. He checks in multiple times a week, drags you out of your apartment when you're inclined to become a hermit, reminds you that you're more than what happened to you. You're lucky to have a friend like him, someone who was there from the beginning, who helped you investigate, who stood by you through the exposure and aftermath. Not everyone has that kind of support system. James Park has become an unexpected friend too. He reaches out every few weeks to compare notes on the legal process, to share updates about his own therapy progress, to commiserate about the peculiar pain of intimate betrayal. He's dating again, says he's taking it very slowly, being very cautious, but trying. I refuse to let Sarah take away my ability to connect with people, he told you during a phone call last month. That would mean she won. And I'm not letting her win. You admire that attitude. You're not there yet, but maybe someday. The trial for the civil suit happens 8 months after the criminal conviction. You and 15 other victims are suing Sarah, Richard, and Vanessa to recover additional damages beyond what was seized initially. The proceedings are dry and technical, lawyers arguing about asset valuations, restitution calculations, comparative liability. Sarah appears via video link from prison, wearing an orange jumpsuit that looks jarring compared to the designer clothes you remember. She shows no emotion during the testimony, just sits there like a statue while victim after victim describes how she ruined their lives. When it's your turn to testify, you walk through the timeline calmly, clinically. The fake ring purchase, the discovery at Morrison & Sons, the investigation, the safe deposit box contents. You don't cry or show anger. You've practiced this with Dr. Kim, staying factual, not letting emotion undermine your credibility. The judge listens carefully, asks clarifying questions, takes notes. The verdict, when it comes 2 weeks later, awards the victims a total of $340,000 in additional damages to be paid from the liquidation of all remaining assets. Your share comes to about $7,200, not quite enough to cover what you lost, but close. Combined with the earlier recovery, you'll end up getting back about 70% of the money Sarah stole from you. The other 30% is just gone, lost to legal fees and the reality that Sarah spent a lot of the money she stole. But you got something more valuable than money from this process. You got validation, official, legal confirmation that what Sarah did was wrong, was criminal, was not your fault for falling for it. That matters more than the dollar amount. 1 year after the exposure at Skyline, you meet Monica for coffee. You've stayed in touch sporadically. She was genuinely shattered by discovering her friend was a con artist, underwent her own therapy to process the guilt of unknowingly facilitating Sarah's operation. She changed jobs, moved to a new neighborhood, tried to build distance from everything associated with that period of her life. "How are you doing?" she asks, and it's clear she really wants to know. "Better. Not great, but better. I'm sleeping normally now. I don't check the news for Sarah updates every day. I'm working on trusting people again, or at least on being open to the possibility of trusting people eventually. That's progress." Monica stirs her latte absently. "I still think about her sometimes. About all the moments we shared that I thought were genuine friendship. Were any of them real? Did she actually like me, or was I just useful for providing cover, for introducing her to potential marks? I ask myself the same questions about our relationship. Dr. Kim says maybe some of it was real, maybe Sarah did feel something genuine occasionally, even if it wasn't enough to stop her from exploiting people. Or maybe she's incapable of genuine emotion and it was all performance. We'll probably never know. Do you hate her?" Monica asks quietly. "You consider this. Do you hate Sarah?" There was certainly a period of intense anger, of wishing terrible things upon her, of fantasizing about worse punishments than prison. But hate requires sustained emotional energy, and you're tired of giving Sarah any piece of yourself. "No," you say finally. "I don't hate her. I pity her, kind of. She had all these talents, intelligence, charisma, work ethic, and she used them to hurt people instead of building something real. She's going to spend the next 7 years in prison, and when she gets out, she'll be a middle-aged felon with no real skills except deception. That's a sad life. I don't need to hate her. Her choices have already destroyed her future more thoroughly than any revenge I could devise." Monica nods, tears in her eyes. "That's very mature of you. Dr. Kim says it's called radical acceptance. Accepting reality as it is, without wishing it were different, and choosing to move forward anyway. I'm working on it. You are working on it. Some days are easier than others. Some days you can go hours without thinking about Sarah, can interact with people without automatically questioning their motives, can imagine a future that includes vulnerability and connection. Other days, the wounds feel fresh and you retreat into the safety of solitude and suspicion. But the trajectory is upward. Slowly, incrementally, you're healing. 14 months after the exposure, you go on a date. Not because you're ready, exactly, but because Dr. Kim suggested that sometimes you have to act before you feel ready, that action can create readiness rather than the other way around. Her name is Amy, she's a graphic designer you met through a work project, and she knows nothing about your history with Sarah beyond the vague statement that your last relationship ended badly. The date is awkward. You're hyper-aware of every word Amy says, analyzing it for signs of manipulation or deception. When she compliments your shirt, you wonder if it's genuine or strategic. When she talks about her family, you question whether the stories are real or fabricated to create false intimacy. You know you're being paranoid, but you can't turn it off. Amy notices. You seem tense. Are you okay? Sorry. It's been a while since I dated. I'm out of practice. She smiles kindly. It's okay. Dating is weird for everyone. No pressure, we're just two people having dinner and getting to know each other. Whatever happens or doesn't happen, it's fine. The simplicity of that statement somehow helps. Just two people having dinner. No con, no hidden agenda, just ordinary human interaction. You force yourself to relax, to engage with the conversation naturally rather than defensively. By the end of the evening, you've actually enjoyed yourself. Not because you're falling for Amy, it's too soon for that, maybe too soon for anything romantic. But because you've proven to yourself that you can do this. You can sit across from someone and be vulnerable, even if just slightly, even if your guard never fully drops. You don't see Amy again, the chemistry isn't quite there for either of you, but the experience matters. It's evidence that you're not permanently broken, not incapable of connection. You're just wounded, and wounds heal. By 18 months post-exposure, life has achieved a new equilibrium. Not the same as before, you'll never be that innocent, that trusting again. But stable. Functional. You've gotten a promotion at work. You've made new friends through a running club Daniel dragged you to. You've stopped checking news articles about Sarah. You've started thinking about the future not as something to dread but as something with possibility. Dr. Kim says you're ready to terminate therapy, though you're welcome to return if needed. You've done the work, she tells you in your final session. You've processed the trauma, developed healthier relationship patterns, rebuilt your sense of self. You don't need me anymore. Thank you, you say, and mean it. For helping me survive this. You survived it on your own, Dr. Kim corrects. I just helped you process what you'd already lived through. The strength was always yours. 2 years after that night at Skyline, you're standing in a different restaurant, a casual Italian place near your new apartment in a different neighborhood. You moved 6 months ago, needing a fresh start in a space that didn't hold memories of Sarah. This apartment is smaller, but it's yours in a way the old place never was. No drawer full of someone else's clothes, no toothbrush that isn't your own, no ghosts of fake relationships haunting the corners. Daniel is getting married, to a woman named Jessica he met at a professional conference last year, and you're here for his bachelor party. Well, party is generous. It's more of a civilized dinner with his closest friends, because Daniel has always been more about meaningful conversation than wild debauchery. The irony isn't lost on you that you're celebrating your best friend's upcoming marriage while your own engagement plans ended in a public exposure of fraud. But you're genuinely happy for Daniel. Jessica is real, you've vetted her as much as a person can without being invasive, and more importantly, you've watched them together. The way they interact, the casual intimacy, the unguarded moments that can't be faked over time. It's real. Some relationships actually are. Speech, someone calls out, and suddenly everyone's looking at you expectantly. You're the best man, which means you're supposed to say something profound and touching about love and commitment. You stand, feeling self-conscious, and raise your glass. I've known Daniel since college. We've been through a lot together, late-night study sessions, terrible apartments, worse haircuts. This gets a laugh. But the thing I admire most about Daniel is his capacity for showing up. When life gets complicated, when things fall apart, when you need someone in your corner, Daniel shows up. He showed up for me during the darkest period of my life, and he never wavered. You glance at Daniel, who's looking at you with that expression that means he's trying not to get emotional. Jessica, you're getting the best guy I know. Someone who understands that love isn't just the easy moments, it's showing up for the hard ones too. Daniel, you found someone who shows up for you the same way. That's what real partnership looks like. So here's to showing up, to real love, to building something genuine together. Congratulations. Everyone drinks, and there's applause, and the moment passes. But afterward, Daniel pulls you aside. Thank you for that. And thank you for being here. I know weddings might be complicated for you given everything. I'm fine, you assure him. Honestly. Your relationship isn't a reminder of what I lost, it's a reminder that real relationships exist. That's important to remember. And it is. Watching Daniel with Jessica, seeing the easy affection and genuine trust, helps recalibrate your understanding of what relationships should be. Sarah wasn't the standard. Sarah was an aberration. Most people don't spend 3 years running elaborate cons on their partners. Most people are just trying their best to connect, even if it doesn't always work out. You've started dating again, nothing serious yet, but you're open to it. You went out with a teacher named Linda 3 times before mutually agreeing the chemistry wasn't quite right. You had a brief thing with a paralegal named Marcus that ended amicably when he took a job in another state. You're learning to read people better, to recognize red flags earlier, to maintain boundaries while still allowing for vulnerability. It's a delicate balance, and you don't always get it right, but you're learning. The trust doesn't come easily. You still catch yourself questioning motives, looking for hidden agendas, waiting for the other shoe to drop. But Dr. Kim's voice echoes in your head during those moments. Some caution is healthy. Paranoia that prevents all connection is not. You're working on distinguishing between the two. James Park emails you occasionally with updates. He got married 8 months ago, met someone through mutual friends, took it slow, built something real. He sent you a photo from his wedding, and you could see the genuine happiness in his face, the way his wife looked at him with obvious affection. Sarah didn't break me, he wrote in the email. She tried, but she didn't succeed. I'm proof that we can survive this and still have good lives after. You saved that email. Some days, when the cynicism threatens to overwhelm everything else, you reread it. Proof that healing is possible, that betrayal doesn't have to define the rest of your life. Other victims from Sarah's operation have reached out over the years. Some are doing well, have moved on, rarely think about what happened. Others are still struggling, still angry, still unable to trust. There's no universal timeline for healing from this kind of betrayal. Everyone processes it differently, moves through it at their own pace. You try not to judge yourself against others' progress. Try to just accept where you are in your own journey. Sarah was released from prison 3 months ago, having served just under 4 years of her 7-year sentence, early release for good behavior. You found out through a Google alert you forgot to disable. For a few days after learning this, you were tense, hypervigilant, half expecting her to show up at your door with some new scheme or explanation. But she hasn't contacted you. According to the terms of her release, she's not allowed to, and violating parole by contacting her victims would send her back to prison. You wonder sometimes what her life looks like now. Is she living quietly somewhere, working a legitimate job, genuinely trying to reform? Or is she already planning new cons, finding new marks, unable to change the fundamental nature of who she is? You'll probably never know, and you've made peace with that uncertainty. Sarah's future is no longer your concern. Richard Harrison died in prison 7 months into his sentence, a heart attack at age 49. You felt nothing when you heard the news, which surprised you. You'd expected some satisfaction, some sense of justice served. But mostly you just felt hollow. His death didn't undo the damage he caused, didn't restore the money he stole, didn't heal the people he hurt. It was just an ending, morally neutral. Vanessa Chen finished her sentence and moved to another state, changed her name, started over. You heard this through the Victim Support Network. Apparently, she's working as a waitress, staying clean, trying to build a legitimate life. Some victims are angry that she got off so lightly, that her cooperation earned her a reduced sentence while they're still dealing with the financial and emotional consequences of her crimes. You understand that anger, but you also think everyone deserves a chance at redemption if they genuinely pursue it. Whether Vanessa is genuinely reformed or just lying low until she can run new scams, time will tell. On the 2-year anniversary of the Skyline exposure, you do something you've been avoiding. You visit a jewelry store. Not Brilliance and Company. That place was shut down immediately after the arrests, the inventory seized as evidence, the building now housing a completely different business. But a legitimate jeweler, Morrison & Sons, the place where this whole nightmare began. Old Mr. Morrison greets you with recognition and sympathy. Mr. Thompson. How are you holding up? Better than I was 2 years ago. I wanted to thank you. If you hadn't been honest with me about the fake ring, I might never have discovered what Sarah was doing. You started the process that eventually stopped her operation. Mr. Morrison waves this off modestly. I just told you the truth. That's my job. But I'm glad it helped, in the end. Are you here for anything specific today, or just visiting? You're not entirely sure why you came. Maybe to prove to yourself that jewelry stores don't have to be associated with betrayal and fraud. Maybe to confront the place where your old life ended and this harder, more complicated life began. Actually, you hear yourself say, I'm looking for a watch. Something nice but not extravagant. A gift for myself. Mr. Morrison shows you several options, and you end up choosing a simple but elegant piece, stainless steel, classic design, reliable mechanism. Not the most expensive watch in the store, but beautiful and genuine. When you wear it out of the store, there's something symbolic about the gesture. Time moving forward. Genuine value replacing fake promises. You're having dinner with your parents that evening, They visit the city every few months now, partly to see you and partly because they worry, though they try not to make it obvious. Your mother has stopped asking about your dating life, which you appreciate. Your father occasionally brings up investment opportunities or financial planning, his way of making sure you're rebuilding the money you lost. How's work? Your mother asks over pasta. Good. Really good, actually. I'm leading a new project, managing a small team. It's challenging but satisfying. And you're happy? The question underneath the question, are you okay? Have you healed? Are you past what Sarah did to you? I'm getting there, you say honestly. Some days are better than others. But the trajectory is good. I'm not who I was before all this happened, but I'm okay with who I'm becoming. Your mother reaches across the table and squeezes your hand. That's all we can ask for. Growth and resilience. After dinner, walking back to your apartment through the city streets, you think about that phrase. Growth and resilience. 2 years ago, you were focused purely on survival, getting through each day, processing the trauma, avoiding complete emotional collapse. Now you're actually building something. Not just rebuilding what Sarah destroyed, but constructing something new from the foundation she inadvertently forced you to lay. You're more cautious now, yes. More guarded. Slower to trust. But you're also more self-aware, better at recognizing manipulation, clearer about your boundaries and needs. You don't ignore red flags anymore. You don't rationalize away concerning behavior just because you want to believe in someone. You've learned, at tremendous cost, that trust must be earned gradually, not given freely just because someone is charming and attentive. Is this wisdom or damage? Maybe both. Maybe wisdom is just processed damage, lessons learned from pain and integrated into how you move through the world. Your phone buzzes with a text from Daniel. Thanks again for the speech tonight. Means a lot having you as best man. You're going to find your person too, when the time is right. Don't give up on that. You type back, I'm not giving up. Just being careful. There's a difference. And there is. Giving up would mean closing yourself off entirely, deciding that Sarah's betrayal means all relationships are suspect and trust is impossible. Being careful means staying open to possibility while protecting yourself with appropriate boundaries and healthy skepticism. It's a harder path than either complete trust or complete isolation, but it's the realistic one. Back in your apartment, you sit by the window looking out at the city lights. 2 years ago, you stood on a similar balcony holding a fake engagement ring, your world crumbling around you. Tonight, you're wearing a genuine watch, making plans for a friend's wedding, contemplating a future that includes possibility rather than just pain. It's not the life you imagined 2 years ago. That life, the one with Sarah, with marriage and kids and growing old together, was built on lies and was never real to begin with. This life is messier, lonelier sometimes, harder in ways you couldn't have anticipated. But it's real. It's yours. And increasingly, that feels like enough. 3 years after the exposure at Skyline, you're standing as best man at Daniel's wedding. The ceremony is beautiful, intimate gathering at a botanical garden, flowers everywhere, late afternoon sun filtering through the trees creating patterns of light and shadow. Jessica looks radiant, Daniel looks happier than you've ever seen him, and you're genuinely moved by the vows they've written for each other. I promise to show up, Daniel says, and you catch his eye briefly, remembering your speech from the bachelor party. In the good times and the difficult ones. To be present, to be honest, to build a life with you based on truth and trust and genuine partnership. Truth and trust and genuine partnership. 3 years ago, those words would have felt like mockery, like naive optimism from people who hadn't learned how easily truth can be fabricated and trust exploited. But watching Daniel and Jessica, seeing the way they look at each other, you find yourself believing in the possibility again. Not blindly, you'll never be blind again, but cautiously, hopefully. After the ceremony, during the reception, you give your best man speech. You keep it light, telling funny stories about Daniel from college, making jokes about his terrible taste in music and his habit of overthinking everything. But you end seriously. 3 years ago, I learned the hard way that not all relationships are built on genuine foundations. That sometimes, people we trust are performing rather than connecting. It was devastating, and for a while, it made me question everything. You pause, looking at Daniel and Jessica. But watching these two together has reminded me that real love exists. That genuine partnership is possible. That some people actually mean their vows, actually show up, actually build lives based on honesty and mutual respect. Daniel and Jessica, thank you for being proof that the real thing exists. May you have a lifetime of genuine connection. There's applause, and maybe a few tears from the more sentimental guests. Afterward, a woman approaches you at the bar, one of Jessica's friends from work, named Claire. She's striking in an understated way, with sharp eyes and an easy smile. That was a beautiful speech, she says. And if you don't mind me saying, it sounded like it came from personal experience. You consider deflecting, keeping things surface level. But there's something in Claire's directness that feels refreshing. My last serious relationship ended badly. I learned some hard lessons about trust and deception. I'm sorry. That must have been painful. It was. But it also taught me a lot. Made me more careful, more aware. Not sure if that's a good thing or not yet. Claire tilts her head thoughtfully. I think careful is good, as long as it doesn't become closed off. There's a difference between protecting yourself and isolating yourself. That's what my therapist says. Your therapist is smart. Claire smiles. I'm a high school teacher, and I spend a lot of time telling teenagers that being hurt doesn't mean they have to build walls so high that nobody can reach them. Sometimes I need to remind myself of the same thing. You end up talking with Claire for most of the reception. She's easy to talk to, quick-witted, and refreshingly straightforward. When she mentions going through a difficult divorce 2 years ago, you share a bit more about Sarah, not the whole story, not the public exposure and fraud charges, just enough to acknowledge that your last relationship involved significant betrayal. Do you think you're ready to date again? Claire asks. For real, I mean. Not just going through the motions because you're supposed to. Honestly, I'm not sure. I've been dating casually, but nothing serious. Part of me wants something real, wants to believe I can have what Daniel and Jessica have. But another part is still waiting for the other shoe to drop, still expecting people to reveal themselves as performers. That's fair. Trauma does that, makes you see danger everywhere because once, the danger was real and you missed it. Claire pauses. But Mark, if you spend your whole life looking for red flags, you might miss green lights. The phrase catches you. Red flags and green lights. You've gotten very good at spotting red flags, inconsistencies, manipulations, warning signs. But have you been missing green lights? Opportunities for genuine connection because you're too busy being vigilant? That's a good point, you admit. I'm not saying drop your guard completely. Careful is smart. But maybe also be open to the possibility that not everyone is Sarah. Claire writes her number on a cocktail napkin. If you want to have coffee sometime, just coffee, no pressure, no expectations, call me. Or don't. Either way, I hope you find what you're looking for. You pocket the napkin, and 3 days later, you do call. The coffee date turns into dinner, which turns into a second date, then a third. Claire is patient with your guardedness, doesn't push when you're not ready to share something, gives you space when you need it. But she's also honest about her own hesitations, her own protective instincts from her divorce. You're both wounded people learning to trust again, and somehow that makes it easier rather than harder. 4 months into dating Claire, you have your first major conflict. She cancels plans at the last minute, citing a family emergency, and something in you immediately goes on alert. Sarah used to cancel plans, used to have convenient emergencies that you later realized were lies to cover time spent with other Marks. You find yourself questioning whether Claire's explanation is legitimate, whether this is the beginning of a pattern you should have caught earlier. Instead of spiraling or making accusations, you do what Dr. Kim taught you, you communicate. Claire, I need to talk to you about something. When you canceled last night, my first instinct was to assume you were lying. That's not fair to you. It's my baggage from my previous relationship. But I need to be honest about what I'm feeling instead of pretending everything's fine. Claire listens, then shows you photos from the hospital where her father had been admitted with chest pain. False alarm, thankfully, but scary at the time. I should have sent these last night, she says. I forget that you need more transparency because of what you've been through. That's okay, I can do that. But Mark, you also need to work on trusting me. I'm not Sarah. I'm not running a con. Sometimes emergencies are just emergencies. She's right. You apologize, you work on it, and the relationship continues. It's not perfect, no relationship is, but it's real. Claire is genuinely herself, flaws and all, and you're learning to be genuinely yourself with her too. The guards come down slowly, incrementally, but they do come down. 6 months into dating Claire, you get an unexpected email. The subject line reads, "Amends." The sender is Sarah Mitchell. Your first instinct is to delete it without reading. Your second is to forward it to Detective Morrison, in case it constitutes a violation of her parole terms. Your third, after taking several deep breaths, is to read it. Mark. I know I'm not supposed to contact you, and I'll understand if you report this email to my parole officer. But I'm working through a 12-step program as part of my rehabilitation, and one of the steps is making amends to people I've harmed. You're at the top of that list. I stole from you. Not just money, though I did steal money, and I'm sorry for that, but I stole years of your life. I stole your trust, your sense of reality, your ability to believe in genuine human connection. I made you doubt yourself, doubt others, doubt everything. That was cruel, and I'm sorry. I wish I could tell you why I did it. The truth is, I'm not entirely sure myself. The therapist here talks about personality disorders, about broken attachment patterns from childhood, about the difference between antisocial tendencies and true psychopathy. I'm still trying to understand what's wrong with me, why I'm wired to deceive and manipulate instead of connecting authentically. This isn't an excuse. Understanding the psychology behind my actions doesn't make what I did less harmful. You deserved better. You deserved someone who actually loved you, not someone calculating how much money they could extract from you over time. I've heard you're doing well. That you exposed me publicly to stop me from hurting others. I was angry about that at first, felt humiliated and betrayed. But I understand now why you did it. You were protecting people, ensuring I couldn't manipulate the narrative. In a weird way, you did me a favor. Prison forced me to confront what I am in a way I never would have otherwise. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't expect you to respond. I just wanted you to know that I recognize the harm I caused, and I'm genuinely sorry. If I could undo it, I would. Since I can't, all I can do is try to be a better person going forward and hope that you've healed from what I did to you. I hope you find someone who actually deserves you. Someone genuine. You're a good person, Mark. You always were. I'm sorry I took advantage of that. Sarah. You read the email 3 times. Is it genuine? Is this real remorse, or just another manipulation, a play for sympathy, a way to work her way back into your life for some new scheme? You forward it to Detective Morrison with a note. Received this from Sarah Mitchell. Wanted you to be aware. Let me know if it violates parole terms. Detective Morrison calls you an hour later. It does violate the no-contact order from her parole terms. I'll have to report it. She'll probably get a warning, possibly a temporary violation hearing. Do you want to press for stricter consequences? No, you say, surprising yourself. I think she's genuinely trying to make amends, however awkwardly. I don't need her punished more, she's already served time, she's dealing with the consequences. If anything, I appreciate the apology, even if I'm not sure I believe it completely. You don't respond to Sarah's email. Whatever journey she's on toward redemption or rehabilitation, it's not your responsibility to participate in it. But you don't delete it either. You save it in a folder, evidence that at least Sarah acknowledges what she did, even if you'll never fully understand why. When you tell Claire about the email, she asks the question you've been asking yourself. Do you forgive her? I don't know, you answer honestly. Part of me wants to, because holding on to anger is exhausting and forgiveness is supposed to be healing. But another part thinks forgiving her minimizes what she did, lets her off too easily. Maybe the answer isn't forgiveness or unforgiveness. Maybe it's just acceptance. Accepting what happened, integrating it into my story, and moving forward without needing a neat resolution. That seems wise, Claire says. A year into your relationship with Claire, 4 years after the skyline exposure, you're lying in bed together in your apartment, and she turns to you suddenly. Mark, I love you. And I know that's probably a complicated thing for you to hear, given everything. But I wanted you to know. You don't have to say it back, not until you're ready. I just wanted to be honest about how I feel. Your first instinct is panic. The last person who told you they loved you was performing, was calculating, was using that emotion as a tool for manipulation. How do you trust that Claire means it? How do you know this is real? But then you look at Claire, at her open expression, her vulnerability in this moment, the way she said you don't have to reciprocate, removing any pressure or expectation. And you realize that Sarah never would have done that. Sarah would have needed your response, would have been calculating how to use your emotions. Claire is just being honest, offering her feelings without demanding anything in return. I love you too, you say, and feel something unlock in your chest. I'm still learning how to trust that completely, still working through my baggage. But I do love you. And I'm grateful you're patient with my process. We've both got process, Claire says. That's okay. We'll figure it out together. Together. You let that word settle over you. For 3 years after Sarah, you've been operating as an individual, protecting yourself, healing yourself, rebuilding yourself. The idea of together, of genuine partnership, had seemed impossible. But here it is, messy and imperfect and real. You still have bad days. Days when the old suspicions surface, when you catch yourself questioning Claire's motives or looking for hidden agendas. But they're less frequent now, and you're better at recognizing them as echoes of past trauma rather than present reality. Claire is patient through those days, and you're learning to trust her patience. 5 years after the skyline exposure, you're having dinner with Daniel and Jessica at their house. They just had their first baby, a daughter named Lily, and Daniel asks you a question that catches you off guard. Are you happy, Mark? Like, genuinely happy? You think about this. Happy feels like too simple a word for the complexity of your life now. You're not the carefree happy you were before Sarah, the naive happiness of someone who hadn't learned how dark the world could be. But you're not miserable either. You have work you find meaningful, friends you trust, a partner you love, a life that feels authentic even when it's difficult. I'm content, you say finally. And grateful. And healing. I think that's as close to happy as I can get right now, and I'm okay with that. That's good, Daniel says. That's really good. And it is. 5 years ago, you were standing on a balcony holding a fake diamond ring, your world imploding as you realized your relationship was a carefully constructed fraud. The journey from that moment to this one hasn't been linear or easy. There were times you thought you'd never trust again, never love again, never recover from the betrayal. But here you are. Still standing. Still trying. Still open to possibility, however cautiously. Sarah Mitchell tried to break you, tried to reduce you to just another mark in her ledger of exploited victims. She failed. You're more than what she did to you. You're more than the worst thing that ever happened to you. You're someone who survived, who fought back, who learned and grew and slowly, painfully rebuilt a capacity for genuine connection. That's not nothing. That's actually everything. Later that night, Claire asleep beside you, you think about the story of the fake engagement ring, how it started with deception and ended with exposure, how it broke you down and forced you to rebuild stronger. It's not the story you would have written for yourself, not the journey you would have chosen. But it's your story, and you've learned to own it. Tomorrow, you'll wake up and go to work and have coffee with Claire and maybe call your parents and continue the ordinary business of living an ordinary life. No drama, no public exposures, no fraud investigations. Just normalcy, which turns out to be its own kind of victory. The fake ring is long gone, returned as evidence, eventually lost in the legal proceedings. You don't miss it. You don't need a symbol of what was fake to remind you to appreciate what's real. Claire is real. Your friendships are real. Your growth is real. And maybe, someday, if the timing is right and you're both ready, there will be another ring. A real one this time, purchased with full transparency, given with genuine emotion, accepted with authentic love. Maybe. But even if that never happens, even if your story doesn't include the traditional markers of happily ever after, you'll be okay. Because you've learned the most important lesson of all: your worth isn't determined by whether someone chooses to love you honestly. Your worth is inherent, unchangeable, yours regardless of what others do or don't give you. Sarah Mitchell taught you that lesson in the cruelest way possible. But you learned it nonetheless, and nobody, no future betrayal, no future heartbreak, no future loss, can take that knowledge away from you. You survived the worst thing you could imagine, and you came out the other side still capable of hope, still willing to try, still open to the possibility of genuine human connection. That's resilience. That's growth. That's victory. You close your eyes, Claire's breathing steady beside you, and let yourself feel something you haven't felt in 5 years: safe. Not perfectly safe, you'll never be naive enough to believe in perfect safety again, but safe enough. Protected not by walls or suspicion, but by self-knowledge and healthy boundaries and the understanding that you can survive whatever comes next. 5 years ago, Sarah gave you a fake ring and broke your world. Tonight, you have something better than a diamond, real or fake. You have yourself back. And that's worth more than any stone could ever be. The city lights flicker outside your window, millions of lives being lived in millions of ways. Some of those lives include betrayal and heartbreak. Some include genuine love and authentic connection. Most include some messy combination of both. That's just being human, navigating the space between trust and suspicion, between openness and self-protection, between the desire for connection and the fear of being hurt. You're navigating that space now, and you're doing it consciously, intentionally, with awareness of both the risks and the possibilities. That's all anyone can do. That's enough. Until next time, remember, everyone has their story of how they learned to be careful, how they learned that not everything that glitters is gold, how they learned to rebuild after something precious turned out to be fake. Your story is unique, but the lesson is universal. Trust must be earned, love should be proven through actions over time, and genuine connection, however rare, is worth the risk of trying. Now, before you go, here's something I'd like to know. If you discovered someone you trusted was living a completely different life than what they told you, what would you do? Would you confront them privately, or would you feel compelled to expose them publicly to protect others? There's no right answer, just curious what you'd choose in that impossible situation. Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every one.